You're watching. Fuck, that's not the right one. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome back to Winners and Losers here on Fuck, it's on Winners and Losers. It's me, Hank. We're doing the show. Sudden jumping into the breaking news, actually, as I was getting ready here. Joe Biden is on his way to join the workers striking. First time in history, an American president. And I had Majority Report streaming, so we're just going to jump right over to that. This is a complete sudden change of our plans here, but let's see what's going on. Sorry. Just started happening as soon as I hit record.
You need and other benefits.
Let's get it!
Let's get back who we lost, okay? Yeah! We say them, it's about time them to step up for us. Thank you. Now, there's a guy I know you don't know here, but I brought him along anyway. Shawn Fain, you're president.
Shawn Fain for president.
All right, good afternoon, UAW family.
Don't fall over, Joe. Like and subscribe, everybody.
Local 174, home of Walker Ruther. Thank this local leadership and Director Laura Dickerson. Members, because you're all the reason we're here. This is all about the membership. You know, this site, Willow Run, it holds a historic place in the history of our union and our country. You know,
Okay, so good. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, this is like the big news that the world is freaking out about today a little bit. September 26th, 2023. I'm totally out of it because it's not how I planned on starting. First time a president's ever joined picketing workers in American history, as I've heard. Maybe there's some instance in which it happened. I highly doubt it if you know anything about American society. So 250 years of to take just one guy showing up at a goddamn thing. I have severe problems with Joe Biden with the way he treated the railroad workers, the railroad strike earlier at the end of last year, about a year ago. I don't, and his entire history and his entire record. So setting aside all that individual stuff, the fact that the president showed up to join workers who are picketing is actually a big deal. Embarrassingly, as embarrassing as it is on the small scale in our current time frame, that's important. It's good. This is a good act. It is also, he was forced to do this. He was pulled to do this for whatever reason he chose to do this. Meaning, I'm saying like the fact that he wasn't just going to do it himself indicates it doesn't really matter as much. Sure, yes, you can you can conclude all kinds of reasons why he wouldn't be that. Presidents are, the thing is, like, a president's, they are the leader of the billionaire union. When people say billionaires need a union, what they're actually saying, let me say that again. When people say billionaires need a union, it's like they have one. It's called the United States government. It's called the Canadian government. It's called the British government. Governments all over the world are organizations dedicated to the health and wellness of ensuring rights and power for billionaires and ultra millionaires and business owners and the owner class, the order giver class. So he was compelled to do this for political reasons. Trump had, and of course, there's been very misleading news headlines completely obfuscating the reality that Trump is completely anti-worker, completely anti-union. He's a rotten scumbag in every single way. That's proven. That's why people like him. And Biden is unlikely to have shown up here had Trump not been trying to scoop into this UAW strike, swoop into it, I should have said, not scoop, and steal the spotlight of it. He's also Trump is doing it to counter program against the Republican debate. I'm pretty sure that's tomorrow, right? Yeah, today is Tuesday. Yeah, I think I'm right. I could be wrong. So Trump's motivations are obviously demonic in all the ways we understand. I would argue Biden, representing his life of serving his corporate masters. He's the president, or he's the senator from MasterCard and Visa, MB, or what's MBNA, the fucking. So his entire career is dedicated to oppressing people, hurting people, diminishing reducing Americans' abilities to stand up for themselves. especially like with the bankruptcy, how he championed making student debt impossible to discharge in bankruptcy, which is just a big giant gift to owners and bosses. Nevertheless, it is still historic that he's standing in line with a bunch of striking people. Let's check in again and see what they're saying here. Sorry if that's what you were hoping to hear.
I think the future belongs to them.
That's right.
Today belongs to the auto workers and the working class.
Yeah, I like that guy's beard. I'm so jealous. I used to have a beard like that. Looks good. Save some for the rest of us. No, he's good. Yeah, so, okay, this is the start of this show. Welcome, guys. If Biden gets back up on stage, look at that stage. It's a bunch of cardboard. That's not cardboard. Pallets. Those are wooden pallets. One big, larger one and a regular-sized one. I see those all the time driving around. They're out by dumpsters, and I always want to pick them up because they're wood. You can turn wood into candle holders and then keep the candle holders in a box in your closet, and that's fun. So, yeah. I love this Shawn Fain guy. I know he's been hitting the news a bunch lately. He's the president. He's the leader. I mean, what do they even call? They don't call him a boss. There are no union bosses. These guys are democratically elected. But yeah, he is the head of the UAW union. He's very, very good at communicating. He's got just by basic appearances, though, you kind of see sort of a guy you wouldn't necessarily jump to that conclusion right off the bat. Not that you'd make a bunch of stuff. He looks like he could fit in the movie Office Space, or something. Why am I making fun of how he looks? I aspire to have a body as good as that guy. No, but he's doing an amazing job. He's going hard. We've got some videos to play here. Fairly big show ahead of us as we have the Biden. The only thing here is just don't fall over, Biden. Don't fucking fall over. Don't do one of these. Like, would it be just tipped sideways? Just whoop whoop. It'd be funny if it was like a good hinge fall, just right at the feet, or if it's like a stumble and it careens all the way through and knocks these people over. Biden's age is a big deal in being centered in the debates. Trump is under thousands of indictments. He threatened to kill one of his generals, this guy Mark Milley. He's aspiring to become a dictator, and he's also incredibly old and completely doddering and out of it. But Biden is older by 2 or 3 years. I think it's 3 years, and he's looking to be. It's not looking great. Okay, hold on. Let's see what's happening here. Oh, fuck, where's the mute? Jesus Christ.
Heard me say it many times. Wall Street didn't build the country. The middle class built the country. Unions built the middle class. That's a fact.
Unions built the upper class. I mean, workers built the upper.
You've earned a hell of a lot more than you're getting paid now. Thank you very much.
You've earned more than you're getting paid. That's a fair one. All right, now go. Okay, let's see what Sam and Emma have to say.
There he goes.
I mean,
he needed that second one because he was not doing the megaphone wasn't really working for him that well the first time, so he got the last one.
I'll tell you what's amazing about this. I mean, first off, there's a couple of things. Obviously, the Washington Post feed that we've been using here was hoping for Biden to trip and fall. And so they didn't keep the camera on Shawn Fain as he was speaking. However, I will say this.
Someone ties his
and
shoe.
This is part of the material value of having a president go to the picket line. Never mind the fact that it was the first time this has ever happened.
Yeah.
The number of Americans who will have heard Shawn Fain's speech in its entirety to these workers, the number of Americans who are aware of the name Shawn Fain, the number of workers who are aware of just everything he said, which was, it was largely sort of general stuff, has just grown exponentially. And
bully pulpit.
And the, this is why you have politicians, why you have celebrities come to your events and this and that, because it expands the audience. And Shawn Fain knew it. And he was talking about not just the UAW's fight against car companies, but he was talking about like Starbucks. He was talking about the writers. He was talking about teachers. He's talking about working class people all around. Biden went to the side, and it's quite clear, and we'll hear some story. Like he didn't know where he was and what not. This is a guy who was deferring to Shawn Fain.
I love that.
And, the idea that he went back in and say like one more remark at the end there was also, and we can get rid of this now, was the idea that he could say one more remark and just sort of putting a button on it. It's a big deal. I want to take another stab at it.
It is a big deal, and I'm a softie, so I'm like, seeing him standing there,
smiling.
I was like, it's emotional. Like, it's nice to see that the fact that the Democratic Party, at the very least, is approaching something respectable that we're able to speak about in a positive way, in terms of just like they have shifted, and they see the fact that they see this as an electoral win for them, or something that they should be doing for their own self-interested purposes, it means that the labor power in this country is growing, and like, it's hot labor summer, but the evidence is now getting even strong.
She's right. I like Emma a lot. Met her once when I was working at TYT. Anyway, yeah, I like Majority Report. She's fallen a little bit and I really respect her, and that's one of my favorite shows. But that thing where they get you with the emotional thing is, it's sad how rare that is, that you have anything that resembles a positive story. Instead, because Biden's just going to go take phone. Nobody from that union can call up Biden and talk to him, but people from his donor list can. They have access to him. This guy's as corrupt as any motherfucking Democrat who takes corporate money and takes, our campaign finance system overall is a corruption machine. It's a corruption engine. So I'm not trying to call her out. I mean, but that's like, because I relate a lot for I think many people who are on the left and who have seen their own politics travel across the spectrum and through the various I'm picturing a video game map where you have to fight through different brambles and have different types of experiences and to gain experience points in order to evolve your character and level up. And I think Emma's probably been on her own version of that. Not that I'm speaking for her, but yeah, I have a little bit of that Libby thing in me where it's like, oh, that's great. Yeah, we love seeing it, but don't fall for it. Don't think Biden means that shit. He's good at retail politics, at least formerly. I mean, he's still trying. It's really pathetic that we have this doddering old freak leading us into the late 20s if he wins, which he, according to polls, seems like very up in the air, which is stunning. The fact that we're trapped with this 80-year-old dinosaur. And it's not like the stresses of the presidency. I mean, yeah, they get great health care, they get good meals, they get, he's not dealing with the like stresses most working people face, but he's at an age where this stuff there's little improvement here. And he also, I think, just the physical optics of it, the way he sort of has those careful steps, he's got that old man thing, as sensitive as we should be about our aging relatives and our older friends and folks. That doesn't inspire a lot of confidence when you're talking about leading the free world. When you're talking, we're not, that's all bullshit. Freedom over. We're America's leaders of the free world, the leader of the freedom over world. We want freedom to have power over other people and their resources and their land. That's what freedom it means in the American context. But yeah, so Biden this is a good thing, but it's also a comment or indicates an incredibly distressed society overall, because it shouldn't be rare. It should be constant. Kind of like so I've got a lot to talk about today. We got a whole bunch of stories planned here. That's Owen Jones. It's about the Rupert Murdoch thing. Right? How's it recording there? Looking okay? All right, cool. So yeah, the WGA, for instance, is, damn, I lost the thought. We'll get back to it. It'll come back. Sorry. That was just all a bit of an awkward start. So yeah. So go subscribe to the Majority Report and my channel while you're at it. All right. So I've been listening to Sam Cedar probably since 2008, maybe. or something like that. Not every day. I mean, there's been periods where I've checked in every day, but you know, I can't say I've like heard every single episode since 2008. TYT, Majority Report, like the Air America kind of gang originally. I miss Chuck D. Chuck D and Rachel Maddow ought to make a comeback. Come on, guys. Liz Winstead too. Get on the horn. Bring King Hartman. I think Tom Hartman's still cranking out stuff. I feel like Tom Hartman. It'd be fun if he made like a pivot to being like a swinger content creator and like started reviewing swing clubs. I bet he's a sensitive lover. I just have a good vibe about that guy. In bed. So yeah, okay, we'll get back to more union talk. Let me try to reset my head here. What the fuck happened? Did I just close it? I have too many X's, too many goddamn Twitter tabs open, reopen, close tab. Okay, so all right. More to come. We got a lot of union shit to talk about. What else is there? I got Robert Menendez, the corruption guy. One of the corruption guys. The stupid old-timey corruption. The sort of kind where you have a bag with a $sign on it. About as close to that as we can get in today's world. Got plenty to say about that. I was going to do a thing about John Fetterman having to wear dressing up like me, like a cool guy. As I tweeted, he and I shop. I didn't tweet this exactly worded, but we shop at the same store, Big, Tall, and Depressed. That's where we get our clothes. So I am wearing loose shorts and a hoodie, which is exactly what he likes to wear to work, which I dig. Yeah, but and then that's going to connect to the school lunch and the way America is the wealthiest nation to ever exist. But we charge children money for food, and if they don't have money, we put them in debt. We might give them food, but you'll also have to pay us back for that fucking tater tot, you little piece of shit. What do you think this is? What do you think we are? A Christian nation? Fuck no. I mean, yes, we are. Yes, I think so. Aren't we? Christian would have charged children for food. Wasn't that his thing? Isn't that why he went to that cave? Because he was counting up all his pennies he got from the kids? What am I saying? Yeah, personal rambling. Everybody's favorite part. I'm not necessarily gonna do all that. Bennon's still the same kind of weird. I'm pretty sure it's just this like ADHD shit, incapacitation caused by destabilized attention abilities and autism and blah 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 blah. I've been reading a whole bunch and stuff and trying to get my head around it. It's easier for me to. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm like 99.9% confident about my autism self-identification, and I'm like 95% on the ADHD. But I find ADHD still a bit of a more nebulous drawing, or something about it doesn't quite all synthesize the same way. I mean, I greatly relate to it and very strongly, but like in the same way, autism was just like a fucking clarity. Autism for me, a year and a half ago when I first read that article, completely unsuspecting that I might be autistic at all, totally unaware of what it was. And then I was suddenly reading about myself, and then I read more articles, and it was all about me my entire life, basically. That all hit like crystal clear James Cameron quality 4K in full Dolby surround sound. Boom! I was like, whoa, because that was so stunning to me, and because I had been mapping it completely accurately, at least my own profile, my own continent of autism. I had fully mapped my entire life at every stage. So, but then ADHD also would fall into that. ADHD is comorbid with autism to like 50 to 70%. I've seen, or something like that, 40 to 60. I don't know, these numbers are always, but it's very highly correlated with autistic folks. And so, but there are people who are like autistic without, and people ADHD without autism, and there's like, it's just all this brain shit. And ADHD has a different treatment profile for sure. There's no pill for autism like there is. So you can't just take Adderall and fix is not the right. That's not the right. See, there's my internalized ableism. It's all been a really big education in disability and in all that other shit. So yeah, why did I get onto that? What the fuck? TikTok, or not TikTok. I am going to get back on TikTok, I think, pretty soon. I'm going to do stuff about my beard, and I'm terrified because I know people will make fun of it, but also there'll be nice and supportive people. And I'll make other people who have shitty beards feel better. I used to make fun of the shitty beards because I had a nice, big, strong man beard. And I used to point at people and say, look at that fucking freak. with his slightly scraggly beard, not as good as mine, and I smack him. And I can't do that anymore. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But I do want to talk about that. There's a lot wrapped up in that. You know, your face bush, how it relates to your sense of identity, your role, your offering to your society, the forward facing, presenting thing. Like, how could it not be an important part of human cognition? And I wish I could be the kind of person who didn't. This light is honestly kind of okay. Oh God, that's so much better. Let's just go a little lower. Let's see if that's better. Okay. All right. How could it not have substantially relevant purchase upon your like individual characteristics, individual context, as well as social context for sure. Patchy hair. I think we're intuitively just like, ugh. So, all right. Anyway, yeah. So, but I'm doing okay now. I'm getting this podcast done. I did a SuckProfessor podcast, by the way. Check the description on YouTube or go to youtube.com/SuckProfessor for it's me and my roommate talking about movies and shows, talking about Oppenheimer, One Piece on Netflix, which I really, really enjoyed. Actually, got a little emotional talking about it. Surprise, surprise. You'll have to go watch and find out where and what at that point. Bunch of other shit. Starfield. Roommate hates it. He's been playing it. He's a big gamer. We're both big gamer nerds, and he had a lot of strong words to say about Starfield. And damn it, there was Witcher. We kind of gripe about Witcher too. Another thing that really is missing the mark. And I have such low. I'm like a golden retriever. I'm like a Labrador with shows, medieval fantasy. I love that genre of sci-fi, whatever. I love all those sort of creative fictional world, kind of big, broad world building kind of shows. And man, Witcher, just what a wasted opportunity. I played the video game, Witcher 3, right? Yeah. Why am I suddenly like, you think I'd know the name of the game I played, but that was the most recent one, the big one. Yeah. So, and a whole bunch of other shit that we've seen. So yeah, go check that out on SuckProfessor. So that's done. Still aspiring to get more regular with this podcast. My editing gig that I'd been doing a little bit has ended. Might still be a couple little tailing things in here, but you never know. But now that that's done, I'm going to get refocused on doing this, on getting my YouTube stuff put up. Probably going to start doing some TikToks, like I said, which is daunting. And this other project I've been working on too that I've hinted at before too. That's going to take up a bunch of my energy and time. So let's do some goddamn podcasting, shall we? Let's get into the goddamn show. I'm not going to go on and on here because Owen Jones, who is like a British commentator guy, he goes on the telly and he gives his opines. That's what British people call opinions. And he says stuff that pisses off the right. That's not how he talks. Oh yeah, not going to do Russell Brand. Willy Wonka with wooden jewelry. Fucking rapist. Alleged. Very credibly, shockingly horrifying details, and also not surprising. So yeah, fuck that guy. Anyway, maybe someday I'll get around to that one. So Rupert Murdoch, demon of society. Talk about somebody who has hurt the planet on which he exists to a degree that can almost not be measured. Billionaire, wrecked Australia with his media ownership, America with Fox News and owning all kinds of other media properties. England, he's a big tabloid guy, he owns like tons and tons and tons of stuff. One of the world's worst humans, up there, probably worse than Mitch McConnell, to be honest, to reference last week or last episode. It's just absolutely horrible that we allow this kind of power to exist in the hands of one person. Media as an industry is it's not the same as producing widgets or providing carpet cleaning services or something like that. There can certainly be monopolization issues with any industry, but hold on, I got to turn off this majority report shit. It's starting to move. Okay. But media especially requires, as King Tom Hartman used to say, maybe he still does, it's the only industry mentioned in the Constitution. It's the fourth estate. It's what's needed. Media and education are the two industries I would suggest, and I don't even like calling education an industry. That's gross. But in a democracy, the nutrient for healthy democracy is information and access to information and the ability to process, to retain, process, and communicate information. And so those two information sources and all those things source from media and education. You know, how knowledge is disseminated, what photons, who's in charge of the photons and the sound waves that enter your photon and sound wave detectors. So it's absolutely terrible. And among the villains of the story is Bill Clinton for passing the 1996 Telecommunications Act to concentrate media ownership, but that's not the only instance. But allowing media consolidation into the hands of the very few is simply swelling up the power of billionaires. And Rupert Murdoch is by easily among the worst of these. So his absence or his exit will be good for the world, except of course he's got a legacy that's going to carry on for a long time. So here's Owen Jones laying it out. Hit him, Owen.
How do you think Rupert Murdoch's going to be remembered?
Well, Rupert Murdoch is the most poisonous individual of my lifetime. 20 years ago, just as an example, on the road to war in Iraq, Rupert Murdoch owns 175 newspapers all around the world, and all 175 newspapers backed the Iraq war. They softened up public opinion for what was a calamity which took the lives of hundreds of thousands of people and unleashed terrible blood and chaos. And why do I mention that? Because it shows that the idea that we have this free press with all these newspaper outlets and media outlets around full of rigorous journalism, coincidentally, all backed this catastrophic war. Many other examples, though, in the 1980s, when the bodies of hundreds of thousands of gay men were being ravaged by AIDS all over the world, his newspapers whipped up the most vile bigotry against gay men. If you think about the United States, we mentioned Fox News, their peddling of conspiratorial nonsense about the Obama administration, the Islamophobia, that paved the way for Donald Trump, who he spoke to every single week when he was president. Or if you think about the climate emergency, spreading climate denialism about what is an existential threat to human civilization, his attacks on migrants, refugees.
So you're a big fan then, right?
Huge fan. But I think it's really important we say this because this isn't just some media owner. This guy is a politician. He's a very, very powerful political figure who has, without being elected by a single person, had a huge disruptive and pernicious and poisonous impact in our democracy, Australian democracy, US democracy, and democracies all over the world.
But shareholder value. It's more than just shareholder value with that guy, though. It's the old story of our civilization, Western democracies, privileging psychopaths, people with the worst impulses. And those things maybe you can never really get rid of. I think in a much healthier society where there's multiple generations, where there's compounding effects of safe childhoods that we would achieve, that we can achieve, which we completely refuse to not achieve, you'd end up with, I mean, that's a simplification of the world I would design, obviously, but my core politics is that the parenting should be easy. We should make it so that parenting is, the purpose of an economy should be to make parenting as easy as possible. That's it. We should have, because that's how you produce fewer assholes and fewer deranged people. And that's how you produce low stress childhoods, which is how you, the low stress childhood is the missing nutrient we need for human flourishing, because then people who can, whatever. Okay. All right. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you get it. Because then you don't have to overcome it in order to accomplish anything in your life, like so many of us do, or never overcome it because you still have all these ripples of the long shadow of your childhood trauma, because that's when your brain is being wired. That's when your soul is being cured, like the acrylic material, like varnish. cured. Like it's one of those words. I like that word a lot. Like how glue cures, it hardens. But also it's cure. Like it's got multiple definitions, so it's a little problematic. All right, well, that's some good commentary, Hank. You dumb fucking idiot. Space news. Then we're going to get to the big stuff, the WGA strike nearing ending and, all that shit. But first, this is absolutely incredible stuff. The Osiris Rex mission. I'd heard about this. I'm a little embarrassed to say I don't follow space and astronomy news as closely as I do, since I want to since I want to do podcasting and videos about it. It's something I absolutely love talking about. It tickles me in all the right ways. I have good 3D imagination, and that's why I'm really good at picturing Mars and Venus. No, I'm joking. But I love to try to like internally conceptualize all these things. I think that's why I liked Oppenheimer so much, because he and I, we both like to imagine stuff, and we also both want to bang communists. Osiris Rex. So there's all these giant things flying around out there called asteroids. I'm not talking about the video game from your 80s, from your childhood. These things can kill us. Comets as well. Comets are just icy asteroids, essentially. They're just water-based, so they have rock mixed with ice chunks. Comets, we tend to be more visible because when they get close to us, when they're near the inner solar system, they're subjected to the sun's solar rays, and the heating effect of the sun is very, very hot, even just outside Earth. It's hot here. If you go to the moon where there's in the bright sunlight, it's like several million degrees. That's not true, but it's like hundreds of degrees. Fucking hot. It's really hot close to the sun because it's a huge, enormous, ongoing, stable nuclear furnace that will churn and churn, although it's slowly billowing itself out. It's just slowly getting a little bit bigger. They sort of swell up like a tick. That's not actually. They don't accumulate anything. They swell up because they're losing mass, which is counterintuitive. But it's because as they are ejecting mass to the tune of it's like 600. I'm going to get this wrong, but it's like 600 trillion. That sounds like too much, but it's it's like 600 million tons a second. It's all this energy is being converted into light, which consumes a bunch of that energy, but also actual solar particles. And so it's getting smaller by mass, but because it's getting a little bit smaller, this is sort of an asteroids, but I'm talking about how the sun works. Because it's losing mass, though, its gravity is actually going down at a rate. And when you reduce the gravity of an object like the sun that's trying to push itself out because of the ongoing nuclear fusion reaction happening in the center, that's causing that allows it to become larger. That's why it'll end eventually be a red giant, extending probably past the orbit of the Earth. And there actually is mixed scientific opinions about whether or not the Earth will survive inside the red giant once it reaches our orbit. Because Earth is still a huge ass thing compared to the sun. It's not, but it's still a big old fucking ball of mass itself. And it might just be orbiting inside that until it actually kind of just sloughs off these huge layers. The sun's not big enough to go supernova, but it is big enough to go to die the way most stars of our variety sun. The most stars in the galaxy are red dwarfs, are smaller than our sun. Okay, goddamn it, Hank, get back on it. Yeah, so less gravity means the sun can get bigger. It takes a long time, by the way, and it's going to kill the Earth far before the red giant phase because the brightness will go up over time, and so it'll get hotter and hotter and hotter. So we have about 500 to a billion years to go before the Earth's water and biology is completely cooked off the planet, and then we'll just be like a dead, dry rock for another 3 or 4 billion years before it actually gets swollen up. So there you go. I think that's mostly accurate. I really want to date astronomers. I feel like dating an astronomer would be fun. Man. What does news got to say?
Was an historic first for NASA today when a tiny capsule plummeted back to Earth. Inside it, samples taken directly from an asteroid. Scientists hope it could shed light on the origins of the universe. Liz Kreutz has more.
That's where my Legos went. Why did I say that?
It's an out-of-this-world journey, 7 years and 4 billion miles in the making.
The SRC has entered the Earth's atmosphere.
Tonight, NASA's first ever sample from an asteroid has touched down on Earth.
Touchdown.
Pretty cool. Yes! Look at that.
The space capsule carrying the precious sample entering the atmosphere Sunday morning, traveling at more than 27,000 miles an hour, reaching temperatures of more than 5,000 degrees.
At this point, we've entered in over San Francisco.
Eventually landing in the Utah desert.
Where they just sitting perfectly on the desert floor.
That is a good shot. So this capsule was part of this long mission called Osiris Rex, and it's just unbelievable that we can do this stuff, that we have the knowledge to be able to launch a thing into the off the Earth to start with, and then send it far into the solar system. It orbited this asteroid for a while, gathered up a bunch of samples, and there's all kinds of protocols for keeping it pure so that it doesn't get contaminated. It's like undergoing like various baths of like heavy elements and I think it was, I don't know what it was. Why am I fucking trying to explain that? And in order, because they go out of their way to like eliminate any possibility that some kind of earthly contaminant could get it. Because now that it's here, you know, it's going to get the microplastics, the lead poisoning, the asbestos. Someone's going to sneeze on it. Someone's going to, you know, show it some porn, make it get real weird. But no, they want to maintain the abs, because this is like a little cluster of stuff from a freaking asteroid, far, far, far away. Yeah, let's keep going.
Hard to articulate what that means after so much put into this mission.
Inside the capsule, a half-pound sample of rocks and dust collected from an asteroid called Bennu, which scientists say could one day crash into Earth. It also may hold important clues to the origins of our solar system.
So why this asteroid? What's so special about this one?
We think of asteroids as pristine time capsules from the very, very early formation of our solar system. We hope to learn more about the building block material that makes
advertising opportunity. Put some billboards on those asteroids. Come on, man. What the fuck are you guys doing? Don't you guys want to sell some more products? Lotion? Dove moisturizer? Put an asteroid billboard up.
our own planet billions of years ago.
Liftoff of Osiris Rex.
The mission began in 2016, the spacecraft traveling years to reach the asteroid 200 million miles away from Earth.
It was a challenging feat to do. The asteroid's surface is kind of like a rubble pile, which we didn't expect. It's kind of like if you were to stand on a children's ball pit, you would fall right into that ball pit.
Despite challenges,
I don't know the exact dimensions or size of that asteroid. It's small comparatively to Earth, so it's not like you can just land on a hard surface like a sandy beach. Be like, oh, a little bit of sand. It's like it like crumbled apart. Like it was like, because it's holding itself together with its own weak gravity. That's just fascinating. I love that shit. They didn't expect it to be as soft as it was.
Success. Finally back on Earth, today's scientists retrieving the charred capsule, anxiously waiting to unlock the secrets held inside.
And Liz joins us now. Liz, this is so cool. Getting these samples to Earth was just the first part, though, of this mission, right?
That's right, Judy. They're going to have to cut it open and see what kind of, like, this is how the horror movie starts, though. You slice it open, a little purple light comes out, and then something, the guy goes, and a little bug just launches into his mouth, and then he's like, ugh, like picks his nose, like walks over there, buys a Coke, and then within days it starts to infect everybody. But luckily, there's a guy who knows how to ride a horse with a sassy teenager, and they somehow murder other guys. All right, so that's fun. There's actually a little bit here about Asteroid. This is the Osiris Rex mission YouTube channel. Their title here is NASA's Asteroid Heist, the challenges of TAG. Show us something here, NASA.
As we started to approach Bennu from a distance and it started to fill up the camera field of view, it looked exactly like we thought it would, with a few boulders sticking out. But as we got closer, we expected to see a very sandy surface with maybe a few boulders here.
That's when I would hit on women back before I got my glasses. As I got closer, no, I would. Yeah, I used to go to hitting on women. Is that the thing that people do anymore? Going up and approaching a stranger and then having them shoo you off? Get out of here.
And what we saw is very little sand. And we saw these mountains, we saw boulders, we saw rocks.
That's cool.
We saw very few areas that had this sandy surface that we were expecting and what we had designed to.
All right. Oh, here's what Osiris Rex stands for. Origins, Spectral Interpretation, Resource Identification, Security, Regolith Explorer. That's why there's a lowercase x at the back at the end of it.
We have never done this before. We're actually going to collect a sample and bring it back down to Earth for further examination by scientists.
Hell yeah.
In order to achieve that objective, the Osiris Rex spacecraft has been navigating around Bennu for about the last 2 years, studying it in great detail, and also overcoming a number of challenges that Bennu has presented. We were looking for locations on Bennu that were 50 meters in diameter, relatively flat.
And then the rent prices went up and they weren't able to afford anything.
and covered with fine grain material. And by fine grain material, I mean stuff that's the size of a dime or smaller. We realized that there were no sites on Bennu that even came close to meeting this criteria. Everywhere we looked was too small and covered with boulders. So we actually had to fly a number of additional close passes over the asteroid and rethink our entire plan for grabbing the sample.
Okay.
After the additional observations of
October
Bennu,
14th.
we had to down
Just so you know, this is 2020, October 14th.
select to 4 sites, and then go back and survey those sites even further to select the final primary sample site.
My first impression of Nightingale is that's the last place I wanted to go. But as we started looking at other sites,
well, actually, I really would be my mother-in-law's house. What if he made that joke?
Saw that this is probably one of the most sampleable sites.
Ugh, I'd rather be on the asteroid than my goddamn mother-in-law's fucking couch.
And 2, we were
Oh, there's a car?
overperforming in our navigation capability and our ability
Those
to
are for
contact.
scale, so you...
Natural feature tracking works a lot.
They
like
would never
the-
use a train to help you understand scale, just a car, because we all have seen those for most of our lives.
in mind in that we pick up landmarks along the way. As we descend, we look at features on the ground. We program the computer to recognize certain features. It takes a picture, says this feature is not where I expected it to be. It's a little bit off to the side, updates its position based on where it's pointed and where that feature shows up in the camera position.
Very cool.
The tag event is our touch and go event, which is where we'll actually be retrieving the sample from asteroid Bennu. We start with a series of maneuvers, one of them being the checkpoint burn, which is where we'll actually check our position velocity in relation to the sample site.
And then the match point burn, about 10 minutes later, will zero out our horizontal velocity relative to the surface. And then about 10 minutes after that, we make contact with the tag SAM, fire the gas bottle, and then back away.
And we hope to get at
here we
least
go.
60 grams of sample, and then we'll be able to store that and bring it back down to Earth.
But there are several things that could go wrong, and we also have to be prepared that we won't be
There's
successful.
like a big kind of carburetor looking thing for my auto mechanic friends out there. I don't know shit about cars. I just know some of the parts in the engine, and they don't even use carburetors anymore, right? But it's like a big sort of disc, kind of a tall, thick disc, sort of a filter, almost like a filtration sort of device in a sense.
Successful on our first try at Nightingale.
We don't only get one shot at tag, we actually have 3 nitrogen bottles on board the spacecraft, so we can potentially do 3 tag attempts if needed. We go through several what-if scenarios, and this is how we actually prepare for a lot of our contingencies.
So we've had to look all around the surface and identify the rocks and boulders.
tips over.
that if the spacecraft were to tip over up to 25 degrees, it could come into contact and be damaged.
We had to develop a hazard map, which we program into the computer and says, if you're getting too close to those hazards, we'll wave off
this.
We'll back away from the asteroid and we'll come back and do this another day.
Everything might work perfectly. We come down, we touch the surface just where we want to, we fire the gas bottle, but the area we contact is covered in large rocks. Those rocks would prevent any fine grain material from being stirred up and captured in the tag SAM head. Another similar scenario is if the tag SAM were to touch on the edge of a boulder and become tipped up. In that case, when the gas bottle fires, much of that gas escapes out the side, not churning up the material that we...
You roll your ankle. That's bad stuff. Okay, so you guys get it. It's fun. We'll see what happens now that they got it back to Earth. What an achievement. Government-funded scientific exploration, incredibly competent, incredibly cool stuff. Very, very, very important, I think, for a species such as ours to continue this kind of thing, even though you could argue we need to solve earthly problems first, but these things don't come at the cost of that. We have a much bigger issue with just handing money off to rich people and wasting our value and our time and our energy just to make sure that fucking assholes can afford Maseratis in 20,000 years. So, okay, so WGA, big deal here. They finally seem to have reached a tentative agreement. It has not yet been voted on by the members, at least as far as recording. Yeah, it's Tuesday. So yeah, it's going to be a few days from now, I think. And then it's going to be, I think, a period of voting. So finalization of this is uncertain, but everybody seems to have an optimistic viewpoint. The communication from the WGA has been pretty positive. Here's the WGA website, wgacontract2023.org. Tentative agreement. We have reached a tentative agreement on a new 2023 MBA, which is to say an agreement in principle on all deal points subject to drafting final language. While we have one in this contract, most particularly everything we have gained since May 2nd is due to the willingness of this membership to exercise its power, to demonstrate its solidarity, to walk side by side, to endure the pain and uncertainty of the past 146 days. Some of that pain and uncertainty, besides just the generalized coercive structure of America, in which you have to produce money in order to access human needs so that a rich person who doesn't need money can get more money. That's the economy. Fortunately, people banded together with funds, and with some of the more wealthier members have also contributed in ways, but lots of fundraising to help with people who have been out of income and out of work for this time. It causes a lot of it's so unfortunate that the workers have to go out there and strike and put their bodies on the line and stand out in the sun. One of the locations where they were picketing did an illegal tree trimming to get rid of the shade that the trees were providing for picketers. They want to burn them. One of the executives was quoted saying, we're going to wait for them to become homeless. We're just going to let the pain of the economy kick in, because they're not going to have enough income to afford to live. And then we'll let them come back to work and continue to make us useless cretins, billions and billions of dollars. It sucks that it's like, why is it should be flipped. There should be the executives marching around outside these beautiful complexes of human creativity, and they should be marching around begging for another approval, 2 or 3 years of approval by the workers to luxuriate in profits that they don't have any fucking thing to do with creating, besides the ability to go to meetings and conferences with other rich assholes who control the gates of wealth flow. All they do is just move money around. These pieces of shit. Somehow we imbue via ownership and the structural violence of the police and coercion we give them all the power. They get to make decisions on every single thing, because that's the flow of power, instead of I'm grateful this is done, or close to being done. I'm be very curious to see how much what kind of, once the details are out, how different people respond, because I'm sure there'll be some that might not be happy with what's been agreed to. I'm very interested in finding out what the AI protections are. These industries are highly motivated with their Wall Street backers and their, private equity, psychopathic, profit-addled, I keep wanting to say freaks, but the vampiric mandate of capitalist extraction and maximizing growth, only shared a system and a process that is only shared by cancer, unlimited growth, unequal and completely consumptive runaway growth. That's the two things on the planet. I know that's oversimplistic. There's probably something else, but like, are cancer and capitalism, and especially American power systems, American corporations. It's just freaking crazy. So I'm really glad that they're going to get back to it, and they're going to make some cool shows. And I still think some great shows and movies and whatever else comes out of these businesses and these efforts. But we're still missing out as consumers, even in a good year, even after this goes down and all these people can get back to work and start, doing what they do and exercising their creativity. And it's a difficult industry to be in anyway. I'm not going to act like I wouldn't take a writing job, but I had aspirations of becoming a screenwriter or a comedy writer or something like that. And I still would, but I don't pursue that. And I've hardly pursued it. I've written a few scripts. I just don't have that networking. Nothing of it ever worked for me. I just don't have it. These last several years have been just so fucking wacky for me anyway. But, it's such a loss anyway. Even in a good scenario, it's a gigantic loss of the fact that we all have to flow through these the gatekeepers, through the one of those. I think it might have been Zaslav. I don't know what maybe, but like they were watching Netflix on one of their yachts or something, and they paused it because it had nudity, and the guy insisted so why do we bottleneck human creativity through these things just because these people happen to have a ton of money? and they have the backing of the gigantic money people in Wall Street and the investor class. And then they get to inject their morality into these things. Not that they have full control and they don't necessarily micromanage every single bit, but they choose who gets hired to control things, and it's still a huge loss overall. But nevertheless, we should celebrate that there's something here. It seems like people are really happy and relieved to finally be over. It'll be the last time writers have nice butts, at least for until the next strike is required, when the AIs invent AI, and we have to then have double AI bosses. So here's a Today Show, my favorite source of news. Let's see what they got to say about this. This is from 3 hours ago, September 26, 2023.
Relief and cautious optimism from writers who've been out of work since May.
I'm very excited to actually read it and see what it actually is, but it feels good. There's a reason why we have tentative agreement.
After striking for nearly 5 months, this morning, leaders of the Writers Guild are expected to approve the tentative deal negotiators reached with the Studios and Streamers Alliance.
When people are in negotiating mood, things are going to get solved.
Neither the WGA...
That was Bernard Hiller.
...nor the AMPTP, of which NBC's parent company Comcast is a member, is commenting publicly on the agreement. While the details are still under wraps, insiders say the proposal includes increased pay, higher residuals from streaming shows, and protections over the use of AI.
The Writers Guild says the deal is exceptional, so I'm really excited to see it.
So
yeah, I'm not sure who that was, but I wouldn't. The fact that I was a little skeptical at first. Sometimes you hear about these union deals, and like I think I can't think of the one. I better not reference it. But no, the UPS contract was there were definitely a kind of a vocal minority of people who didn't like that there were some of the compromises made to get that contract this earlier summer. They avoided the strike at that point. They were just about to, because as with all of these fucking things, the people in charge don't actually produce the profit. They're just gate switcher. They just control switches that control the flow of money, and that grants them the privilege of making decisions, because then they command the politicians and the police. Okay, I've already said that shit. But for the WGA to use the word exceptional.
How soon could your favorite...
Sorry, I'm just trying to get to this part.
The Writers Guild says that...
Right there. For the Writers Guild to have released a statement and use the word exceptional, you can see it right there at the bottom. We can say with great pride that this deal is exceptional, with meaningful gains and protections for writers in every sector of the membership. That's good. That's when kind of the switch flipped for me as far as being enthusiastic about this deal, is that they call it exceptional. They wouldn't have used that word if it was just like, well, this might work. We'll see how you guys. So it sounds like the bosses had to cave on everything. There actually were some indications that, and I don't actually have the full knowledge in my brain right now about the California was, I think the state assemblies had passed unemployment insurance for striking workers, which means that that's a reduction in the coercive power of the societal pain that we like to impose. And the governor, Gavin Newsom, is a fucking piece of shit, been praising Reagan, which is an obvious indication that he's looking to run for national office. Although honestly, if it was Gavin Newsom or Biden in the Democrats, I would rather Newsom was it, but I don't like that piece of shit. And so like is this the actual story? But I can't say for sure, but the ability for writers to feed themselves while striking is a threat to the bosses. Does that not illustrate how inhumane this entire structure is? Oh crap, they can actually survive without our generosity? Fuck, well, I guess we might as well let them be paid enough to feel a sense of dignity that their time is being properly compensated. And it's something like 1 or 2% of overall profits in general, because it's all about control. That's the the giant river of pink ooze underneath all this stuff, is that you look below the money and the actual transactional realm of this. There's another layer of it, which is just about fucking power, ego, control, and controlling and manipulating societies and manipulating people. So if they were able, and it's not yet been, the unemployment thing has not yet been signed, so it's not official, it's not formalized yet, but that's a reduction in well, I guess would say an increase in leverage. That's a shift in the leverage balance in this case. You got one group that has all the talent, all the power, or not all the power, sorry, but all the solidarity, the writers, the actors, the other unions that show up to support. You got the other group, the one I've been talking about, and there's a leverage imbalance. And so just the fact that they're allowed, that they might have been able to feed themselves and cover some of their rent was a threat, was enough of a leverage differential to make them concede to this stuff. And they so graciously agreed to this so that these creative people, the writers and the creative industry workers, can then continue to make them billions of dollars for their uselessness. That's what I also find is so weird. It's like, oh, okay, the AMPTP, the streaming companies, the distribution companies, their concession is that, okay, fine, you can come back to work for us. And there's actually been a lot of interesting people or interesting chatter I've noticed about people talking about, like, so now we got to go back to work for these people. Like, we got to, like, they wanted to hurt us. They were trying to starve us, and we have to go sit in meetings with them and tell them how much we want to work for them. Like, in someone I retweeted mentioned like a truth and reconciliation type process for that. But I mean, that's down. I'm kind of getting to the conclusion part. There's so much more to get into, but this whole thing has woken up people. Everybody has, not everybody, but lots of people who may not have had their consciousness raised. And I've been on my own sort of version of this story myself with the way with what went down at the Young Turks and why we started the union there. The kind of elevation of your consciousness that comes from experiencing the feeling of solidarity. I was fired from TOT before, laid off before the union came forward, but I was in the core team of people who started that union, and the solidarity I experienced was something I'll never, ever, ever forget how much that felt. And in contrast to the emptiness you feel from management, because you're always just viewed by them as like a tool to be, discarded. I got laid off. They tapped my shoulder at 10:30, and I was told to get out by 12. And they didn't tap get out by 12, but then they brought me up for a meeting, and I had to be out by 12. Your job's over. There you go. Get the fuck out. That sucks. I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's what at-will employment is. And yeah, so you're disposable, I guess is what I'm trying to say by pointing that out, by bringing that up. But let's keep going here.
The deal is exceptional, so I'm really excited to see it.
So how soon could your favorite shows get back on the air? Two sources involved in the negotiations say late night and daytime talk shows are likely to be up and running within 2 weeks.
Stupid Drew Barrymore. Drew Carey, by the way, is showing up. He's the host of Bob Barker's television program. Drew Barrymore right there. She came out. I'm sure you saw that like a couple weeks ago. She was going to do her show. I didn't even know she had a fucking show. Without writers, and everybody called her out. Same with Bill Maher, who wanted to do a show without writers, and of course he pulled back right away because he's a fucking talentless hack. Bill Maher has gone off the deep end, man. I don't know if he was ever in the shallow end to begin with, but he sure is on just like old man bullshit brain. But Drew Barrymore, man, she just torched. People went at her hard. This has never happened in the social media era before. So like people are just, the blowback is just immense. And there's a lot of people sitting around, myself included. Not that I went after Drew Barrymore or whatever, but like the signal boosting capacity of the platforms are major. Yeah. So I just got a text. And I think Drew Barrymore experienced that, and now she's taken a major hit to her reputation. I mean, how long will that linger? Will she have to make some statement? I imagine she might address it. I don't know. She's like a legacy Hollywood kid too. Her parents were all juiced into the Hollywood world over time, so it's not a surprise that she was willing to be a scab. But
talk shows are likely to be up and running within 2 weeks. But with actors still out on strike, production on scripted shows and films remains on hold.
I'm glad that one logjam was broken, and
Barry Gordon.
That means that the next logjam is going to be broken soon.
A senior member within the SAG-AFTRA union telling NBC News they hope to get a meeting scheduled this week. It would be the union's first round of negotiations with studios and streamers since the actors went out on strike in July.
One day longer, one day stronger.
While actors and writers have been fighting for many of the same guarantees around worker pay and protections, a source familiar with SAG-AFTRA's demands say actors have some unique concerns, such as health insurance and rules around self-taped auditions to create.
only in America is health insurance a unique concern. Oh, you're one of those people who wants health. Okay, whatever you say, hot person, actor. God, it's so fucking gross that health insurance is like, it's obviously a good thing that unions are able to compel health insurance access out of their corporations. But my God, I mean, that's one of those things when we talk about Medicare for all and universal health insurance and single payer health insurance. And I'm for nationalized health insurance. I think the whole entire industry of keeping humans healthy and alive and safe should be nationalized. And that's that would be a massive project, obviously. But what great power would we gain aside from the stress reduction of all that, which I think is immeasurable, and the material reality of people's lives being improved by access to healthcare. I mean, I have my own story about all that. You can see the wrist brace and the beard falling out and all the other things. I might have prostates in my butt. I got to have somebody check that. I'm of age. But in terms of union negotiations, the culinary union in Vegas is very big in Nevada. And during, I think it was 2016, I want to say, 2016 with the Bernie campaign, the culinary union, I don't have all the details precisely in my head. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but there was indications that they were like kind of, because there are some issues with regards to some of the more legacy unions that have older leadership. This guy, Shawn Fain, is a newer president of a union. I think that's the word. What the fuck? I think I would know what word that they use for that. He's not the boss. There's no such thing as a union boss. That's not a thing. But they were suggesting that losing their union provided health insurance is a reason to not support Bernie. But just the fact that there's any health insurance involved in the unions is, like I said, that's a good thing that we can get stronger health insurance. But what if we just had this other system and then the unions could devote that capacity? It's like deleting some of the program from their current capacity from the RAM, and then they would have even more power, more leverage. Notice how humans being safe and healthy increases your ability to stand up for yourself. Because that's the anti-community impulse of capitalism, is to destroy your ability to stand up for yourself. And their favorite way, or among their favorite ways, is by preventing you from having backup, from being able to stand together with your own people, with others who are like yourself. It's what Cenk Uygur did at the Young Turks when he tried to bust the union there. Disrupting solidarity, breaking your ability to stand up for yourself, being offended at the notion that workers might want to have a voice where they work and over their own lives. And doing it as a group means that you have backup, means that you have community. That's all. All I'm talking, whenever I talk about solidarity and community, I'm talking about leverage. All those kind of concepts are sort of folded in on themselves. Let's keep going.
Create more equality when vying for a role. All that needs to be resolved and soon in order to get next season's summer blockbusters in theaters on time.
We can't stop fighting because we make the work, and when we fight, we win!
Nice.
Again, now that vote is happening in just a few hours. So if this passes, we could potentially see late night return early next week. Now, sources are telling me that the full industry is expected to be up and running by Thanksgiving. So that's sort of a very near end in sight. Sounds far away, but we're actually pretty close to Thanksgiving. So I am hopeful for everyone that people can start getting their paychecks again and get back to work.
Yes, good. Nice to see you hopeful an end to this. Chloe, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you, Chloe. There's Al Roker, legendary American. Yeah. And so that the bosses can continue to make their billions and billions and billions of dollars. They're none of them had to interrupt anything of their life to do this. Maybe a couple of extra conversations with their attorneys and their consultants and all that shit. But like the price that the union workers had to pay just so that they could sustain enough of a career to continue this, what hopefully is for them a fulfilling and exciting and gratifying job. I feel like I'd be excellent in a writer's room somehow. I struggle with so many other things in life, but sitting around thinking of shit is about the thing I do easy. All for the benefit, though, of these, parasites at the top who aren't paying anything. This doesn't cost them shit. It's slightly less profits, but in terms of material difference, nothing. Just a bunch of analysts in Wall Street that might say, "Oh, got more," because this is an old story. You got the lazy, useless parasite class that manipulates culture and violence, and the violence that's offered to them via the machinery of ownership to make other people do stuff for their benefit. And that takes an awful lot of forms, obviously, but that's just the nature of collective society in a way, which is why we need to educate, inform, empower, and distribute power more equitably. That was not a great sentence. So now what's going on? We already saw this. We opened with Biden. Here's PBS NewsHour says Biden to show solidarity with striking UAW workers in historic move. Washington, it looks like they're using the AP's reporting here. President Joe Biden's decision to stand alongside United Auto Workers pickets on Tuesday, on the 12th day of their strike against major car makers, underscores an allegiance to labor unions that appears to be unparalleled in presidential history. That's a little bit butt kissy. I wouldn't call Biden as having an allegiance to labor unions. If that was the case, he should reject funding that he receives, bribe money that he receives from industries that are anti-worker. He doesn't have allegiance. This guy has allegiance to his stupid legacy. That's why he's insisting on running for office again, even though he said he was going to be a bridge to another person back during the campaign in 2019, 2020. Going on here, experts in presidential and U.S. labor history say they cannot recall an instance when a sitting president has joined an ongoing strike, even during the tenures of the most ardent pro-union presidents, such as Franklin. Oh God, shit. My blue light, I think, is good for the shot, but it's like little LEDs that are bright in my head here. So there. Oh, that's fucks up my shot. But okay, I'm gonna turn this one down too. A little better. God. Oh man, I need to join some autistic groups or something where I can talk with other autistic people about how much it fucking sucks. That's oversimplified. Yeah, but the light thing, just the way it's just like it's like somebody putting their hand on a piece of paper that you're trying to read. It's like, stop. I can't. So then my thoughts get all jumbled up. That's a pretty good, I never thought of it like that. That's not bad. Okay, sorry. Experts in presidential labor history say they cannot recall an instance when a sitting U.S. president has joined an ongoing strike, even during the tenures of the more ardent pro-union presidents such as Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Harry Truman. Theodore Roosevelt invited labor leaders alongside mine operators to the White House amid a historic coal strike in 1902, a decision that was seen at the time as a rare embrace of unions as Roosevelt tried to resolve the dispute. Roosevelt was probably too busy doing push-ups in Cuba with the Rough Riders. So the previous closest was Roosevelt inviting labor leaders to the White House alongside the mine operators, they call them, the owners, the extraction owners, the mine boy. During that time period, they were still doing contract leasing. I haven't finished the book, but Slavery by Another Name. This really interesting book about the period after the Civil War through the 50s, pretty much, but where they would just arrest people for vagrancy, and then the government would, loan, sell, rent, work, and labor to the company that. So the stories, the book is based around a guy named Green Cottenham who died. He got arrested for vagrancy and ended up working in a mine for U.S. Steel Corporation and was killed. There was lots of deaths involved. And this is just legalized slavery. We never got rid of slavery in America. We nationalized it. We turned it into something that is a product of the by criminalizing people, by applying the label criminal, you can then force them to be a slave. That's in the Constitution. That's still part today, right now. Slavery is completely legal in America. It's not modern slavery. It's fucking slavery. But we stopped allowing plantations and private ownership, although that took a long time to actually go away in the South and in areas where that was happening. But then it just became this process of the government imposing that. They nationalized it. And so I'm just thinking about the time that Roosevelt was president during a coal strike in 1902. That's when the Pinkertons and the Union Busters were coming at you with guns. And there was a lot of people killed because they didn't want to have their lives ruined and racked by mine operators, by extractive vampires of capitalism. The people that were employing children that were just wrecking small bodies, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. Child labor was very common in America. It's like the mendacity of it to act like the capitalists are the reasons that anything got better in the world is just fucking stunning to me. They resisted every single stage of improvement. They wanted those kids working in those mines. They wanted these convicts, people that they labeled criminal, to be made available for their labor, where all kinds of horrific abuses occurred. So anyway, keep going on here. God, it's just fucking crazy that Biden is the first one. Biden will be arriving one day before former President Donald Trump. The front runner for the 2024 Republican nomination goes to Detroit to hold his own event in an attempt to woo automakers, even though union leaders say he's no ally. So, yeah, we saw that already. Here is a headline from, actually, I don't know what paper. This looks like New York Times. This one that I've been seeing around. Trump to woo striking union members in Detroit, skipping second GOP debate. Now, that's not true. This is a completely incorrect, misleading headline. Trump is using the situation to counter-program against the debate and to try to pretend that he gives a shit about workers, but he's organizing, this whole thing is being organized by a Right to Work Foundation, the National Right to Work Foundation, which is the states passed right to work laws, which basically are, they're not basically, they're anti-union, they're anti-worker laws that give more power to employers as far as what kind of protections workers have on their jobs. Alex Press is a very, she's a writer, does a lot of stuff on the left and stuff. And so she covers labor stuff. So we're just looking at a tweet here that is screenshotted. But in this event is being conducted with Scabs, people who are not union workers. And it's like 50 miles away. It's at some factory that's owned by a place called Drake, which is something I saw. I'm doing a terrible job telling you what's going on. A like parts manufacturer or something like that. Because one thing you got to remember about the auto industry is that every single replacement part that your mechanic puts in your car has to be built. I majored in supply chain management, and I majored in industrial distribution management in college. That was what I studied. That was my thing. I can go on and on about that. Doesn't make me an expert in any of this, but like there's a whole lot of chains of material of production and supply chain shit that we don't even realize. It's not just the people who make the car itself. It's all the parts that go into making the car, all the parts that go into servicing the cars. The secondary parts market is gigantic. So Trump is there. So I clicked on everything, but the media is completely misrepresenting what's actually happening with Trump. Here is, oh wait, no. Okay. So when it was brought up, this was actually a few days ago, September 19th, tweet from Luis Feliz Leon. He says, breaking, Shawn Fain clears the record on Donald Trump's billionaire demagoguery. That's billionaire class talk intended to confuse and distract. Boss tactics. And of course, the media goes right along with it. Statement from UAW President Shawn Fain on Donald Trump. Every fiber of our union is poured into fighting the billionaire class and an economy that enriches people like Donald Trump at the expense of workers. We can't keep electing billionaires and millionaires that don't have any understanding what it is like to live paycheck to paycheck and struggle to get by, and expecting them to solve the problems of the working class. So he was, I don't know if you'd say that's rejecting precisely, but it's a pretty strong statement that they're not interested in Donald Trump's support. Nobody, if you're misled enough, I was going to say stupid enough or fooled enough, but if you think Trump in any way is a credible source on, first of all, he's not credible on what he thinks. He comes off as being authentic because he's got that narcissistic power of saying things that his narcissism makes him believe, which is why his lies sound like he's telling the truth. But he is not credible on what he believes on anything. And the media goes right along with it generally. And unfortunately though, and much to the Democrats' own doing, being led by cretins like Biden and Pelosi and Schumer, especially Pelosi and Schumer, they don't do themselves any favors in trying to represent themselves as an alternative to the Republicans. Republicans love this false bravado of being for workers. That's never been the case. Okay, so here is the Detroit Free Press. Although I think this, because I found this same article on a couple different sites. So this column has been going around, it seems. September 25th, 2023. Let's make it a little bit bigger here. Amid UAW strike, Trump pretends to support workers. He's used to stabbing them in the back. Opinion, Stephen Greenhouse. In an unusual move, Donald Trump has announced plans to speak in Detroit this Wednesday, evidently seeking some political benefit from the auto workers strike, saying he's always had workers' backs. The former president is unarguably seeking to woo, we keep using that word, Michigan workers, but Michigan's workers, indeed all workers, should remember that in his 4 years as president, Trump and his administration did far more to stab workers in the back than to have their backs. Trump rolled back Obama-era protections that would have extended time and a half overtime to pay to millions more workers. He didn't lift a finger to raise the federal minimum wage, which has remained at a low $7.25 an hour since 2009. His administration pushed to ease safety requirements for oil rig workers and relax rules for safety inspections in coal mines. Trump also eliminated the ban on a toxic pesticide, chlorpyrifos, that causes acute reactions in farm workers and does nerve damage to children. Pro nerve damage guy. Trump boasted repeatedly on his huge infrastructure plans, trumpeting one infrastructure week after another. But that became a running joke as he, unlike Joe Biden, utterly failed to enact an infrastructure plan and create the jobs that many construction workers were eager for. Trump got one important piece of legislation through Congress, $1.5 trillion in tax cuts that went overwhelmingly to the rich and corporations while giving peanuts to typical workers like the UAW members on strike. So workers get less, prices go up, Trump's buddies get more money. The people who would never struggle for a fucking day in their life all get much, much more money, while everybody else who actually produces their wealth has to live with less, and then suffer the stress of not being able to retire, of like further precarity, long-term precarity. Okay, that's me talking, obviously. As for unions, Trump doesn't really support unions. What he supports is having union members support him, whether it was his recent attack on UAW President Shawn Fain or his broadside against Richard Trumka, the late highly respected AFL-CIO president. Trump has often sought to turn union members against their union leaders, a move that weakens unions and their ability to stand up to corporations and demand better pay and conditions. In recent weeks, Trump has all but declared war on UAW leaders, saying that union members are being sold down the river by their leadership. That's in quotes. Trump even called on union members to stop paying union dues, a statement that would only come from someone who wants to cripple unions rather than strengthen them. In a statement that UAW President Fain saw as a betrayal of workers, unions, and the state of Michigan, Trump once recommended that auto plants in Michigan move to lower wage states to remain competitive. I remember an interview once with Trump where someone brought up football, and he's like, "I'm friends with lots of football owners," like he can only conceptualize it as the other capitalist demons that he's pals with who own football teams. When nominating U.S. Supreme Court justices, Trump chose people who were far friendlier to corporations than to workers. One of his appointees provided the deciding vote in Janus versus AFSCME, the most important anti-union decision in decades. That decision substantially hurt labor unions and their treasuries by ruling that teachers, police officers, and other government employees could opt out of paying any dues whatsoever to the unions that fight for them and win raises for them. That 5-4 decision overturned a unanimous 1977 decision that was a victory for the Detroit Teachers Union, and made sure workers paid their fair share to their union. Trump's nominees to the National Labor Relations Board repeatedly favored corporations over unions, often acting in ways that made it harder for workers to unionize. So yeah, paying union dues is one of the ways that anti-union messaging, they attack that, or they use that, because they can often string up this narrative that, oh, they're going to force you even if you don't want to be in the union. If you're going to work at this company and it's got a contract, you have to enter the contract, which means you have to pay union dues against your will. And so some people buy that narrative that, oh yeah, it is. I mean, it's true, because there's a grain of truth into it that you might not want to be in the union and you're going to be compelled to pay your union dues. So they passed it. So then this fucking Supreme Court made it so that you can't be compelled. Seems like they're expanding freedom in a sense by giving with that. This is how they trick people, though, is that ultimately, though, was that creates division within the workforce, and eventually it sets the conditions to erode the solidarity that holds the union together. You do have to pay dues. It does cost money, but because of the union protection, your wages are all higher, your benefits are all higher. You have a way to a mechanism for standing up for yourself, for addressing problems, for dealing with things, for accessing health insurance, for being helped during emergencies. The unions can support you in all kinds of ways, and that takes money. You have to have some organizational structure to have money, so you do have to have dues. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the division that they're stoking. They're just trying to get people to feel that animosity, as opposed to everybody having some skin in the game. And I mean, I kind of understand the idea that if you're not really for it, or you're not really quite understand it, and that you have to give a piece of your paycheck to this organization that you might not necessarily want to be in, not realizing that without that organization, you wouldn't have anywhere near that money to begin with. You're still net benefiting in a big, big way. Trump deserves credit for making good on one promise he made to workers, that he'd fight hard on trade. He improved NAFTA, although until Nancy Pelosi and labor unions stepped up the pressure, the changes he won had failed to ensure the agreement would have an effective enforcement mechanism to protect Mexican workers' rights. As for China, Trump laudably stood up to China's stealing our trade secrets and its improper subsidies to industry, but Trump's go it alone, America first strategy was less successful in pressuring China to mend its ways than it could have been if he had lined up powerful allies like Europe, Japan, and Canada to join us in pressuring China. Yeah, he's just a fucking bore, man. It was just like BOAR. Trump likes to boast that under him we had the best economy ever, something many other presidents, not to mention economists, would quarrel with. Job growth, for instance, has been far slower under Trump than Biden. In Biden's first 31 months in office, through this past August, the nation added 403,000 jobs a month on average. In Trump's first 31 months, it added 181,000 a month. That was before the pandemic hit. He had inherited Obama's economy. Workers shouldn't be fooled. When Trump tells workers he has your backs, it's like a fox telling the hens, I have your backs. Or as Fox would say, roof, 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 roof. What do foxes say? Someone should write a song about that. Hold on, I got a text to Stephen Greenhouse is a senior fellow at the Century Foundation, a think tank, and the author of the book Beaten Down, Worked Up, The Past, Present, and Future of American Labor. Okay, there he is. There's Stephen. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Stephen. Here's the Economic Policy Institute headline, Unprecedented. The Trump NLRB's attack on workers' rights. Report by Celine McNichols, Margaret Poydock, and Lynn Reinhardt, October 16, 2019. Introduction. I'm not going to get into all this. This is just the last stuff. But I just skimmed the first couple paragraphs here. Under the Trump administration, the National Labor Relations Board has systematically rolled back workers' rights to form unions and engage in collective bargaining with their employers to the detriment of workers, their communities, and the economy. Like, as I've been saying, something that benefits workers, communities, and the economy. You can set the economy in its own category here, obviously, but things that benefit workers and communities and overall would shift the economy to its benefit and all of ours are threatening to the owners. Just a very, very, very simple truth and simple fact that our system, in order for the people who don't need help, who have all the money, who have all the power because they have ownership, which is their privileged access to violence and state enforcement, things that benefit them hurt workers, hurt communities, hurt the economy. And that's the system that we've all been taught to defend and uphold. It's so fucking gross, but it's laid out so simply. Somebody who wants to just collect their dividend check for doing nothing, their check might be slightly smaller if a worker can save a little bit of money so they can afford an emergency. And that's the system we have. We're supposed to be proud of. We're supposed to continue this. And by the way, it's contributing to the destruction of the planet from this, maniacal overconsumption driven by individualistic selfishness, societal programming. I listened to a couple of Adam Curtis interviews in the last week. The Trump board has issued a series of significant decisions weakening worker protections under the National Labor Relations Act, NLRA/Act. Further, the board has engaged in an unprecedented number of rulemakings aimed at overturning existing worker protections. Finally, the Trump NLRB General Counsel has advanced policies that leave fewer workers protected by the NLRA and has advocated for changes in the law that roll back workers' rights. So don't ever think that the Republican Party is the party of labor, the party of regular workers. A lot of people have been tricked into maybe thinking that. And I've actually seen comments like regulations, like, well, that's what is good about the, all these regulations and the EPA and, these kind of like familiar boogeymen that they often refer to. Regular ass people suggesting that those are the reasons why people can't get good jobs because of all these regulations. It's nonsense. I'm not saying every single regulation is exactly perfect. These things should be negotiated in good faith within a society that cares about how it operates. But the anti-regulation fervor in this country is driven by right-wing and conservative and conservative liberals too, conservative Democrats like Pelosi, such and such, like those types. But very much on the Republican side, that stuff is just ways of favoring the bosses so they can pollute more, so that they can hurt more. We're going to get into some of that with the child labor protections that have been going on. The Trump board and general counsel have elevated corporate interests above those of working men and women and have routinely betrayed the statute that they are responsible for administering and enforcing. This paper highlights the most egregious actions of the Trump board and GC, that's general counsel, and evaluates the impact on working people. It is critical that Congress hold the Trump NLRB accountable and that policymakers prioritize legislative reforms that will restore the original promise of our nation's labor law to encourage and promote the formation of unions and the practice of collective bargaining. So don't be fooled by any of this. And speaking of that, Sarah Nelson, flight attendants union president, who I think is great. I'd like to see her and Shawn Fain run for president. Dual presidency. They could wear like one of those suits for very, very touchy-feely couples where they, like those t-shirts that are like really wide. So the two couples, it's like a joke t-shirt. What am I saying? She tweeted here, LOL, man of the people emojis and some shit. So here's fucking Trump in 2008 saying some shit. He doesn't like the unions.
I mean, everything. It's years and years of deep-seated. And I see it in my own company. While my company is a lot newer, over the years, we have Christmas bonus time, right? And we've done well. Now, I pay somebody a bonus 20 years ago. Then you give them a little more, a little more, a little more. Now it's 20 years later. All of a sudden, I'm saying, I'm paying them too much. I'm paying them too much. I mean, I'm paying some guys much more than I should be paying. You know why? Time. Same thing with the unions. They get a little increase, get another. What
are your guys?
40, 50
do you give
years
them a condo, or what do you give them?
No, I just give them bonuses. But I always like to give them a little bit more. But I know it's not a hickory cheese log. No, I know that. I'm not even talking about top level people. Okay. I'm talking about
regular old man of the people. I know it's not a hickory cheese log.
You go a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. All of a sudden, 20 years is up, and now you're saying, man, that's a lot of money. I'm sitting behind my desk signing these checks.
It, right?
They expect
December rolls around and I think Don's going to be good to me.
Neil, it's the same thing with the unions.
That's right.
They get their little 5%. They get another 2%. They get another 3%, 4%. Then all of a sudden, they're making more money than the people that own the company.
It's just wrong. It's the injustice. The unions make more money than the people who own the company. They get their 5%. They get that, like, this fucking asshole who just use the system. All right, sorry. Texting is happening. It's driving me absolutely crazy. So yeah, let's listen to this a little bit again where he whines about how unions. See, this is exactly the problem that the bosses have is that they're dependent on other people's labor. They cannot produce they cannot make money on their own without the actual like entropy gathering effects of collective power, the scaling effects of collective power, the true human-centered superpower of groups of humans doing something together. It's easier to build a barn with 10 people than with one person or 2 people. And that's what our entire world is built around, and including the utopian societies I would like to see, where it's still going to be an exercise of collective power. It's just the matters that we're sorting out is how do we fucking distribute what we do, and why, and then of course, who decides who does what? Why do we do anything? Why should anything exist? Why should anything be produced? All these things are still going to require tons and tons and tons of people doing work. Another thing I think about a lot too is like, there's no getting rid of shitty work. There's always going to be dirty toilets, and there's always going to be crap that needs cleaning, and there's always going to be riskier jobs than others, going up poles, climbing on ladders, all sorts of things that are going to be tough. Dirty, ugly, smelly chemicals. That stuff's not going away. We're not getting rid of that anytime soon. So we're not, as far as I see it, the socialist movement is not about getting rid of shitty work. It's about getting rid of bad jobs. That's an important distinction, because we're talking about controlling who decides the risk factors and what the compensation is and what the benefit, where the benefit flows to, not necessarily getting rid of risky or dangerous or the same kind of thing, or shitty work. Shitty work, yes. Bad jobs, no. That's actually not a great slogan. But here's Trump again.
Same thing with the unions. They get a little increase, they get another.
What do your guys
40,
give? Do you
50
give them
years
a condo, or what do you give them?
No, I just give them bonuses. But, you know, I always like
But
to
I
give
know
a
it's
little
not
bit
a
more.
hickory cheese log.
No,
I know that.
I'm not even talking about top-level people. I'm talking about, you go a
Look
little
at these
bit.
two soft-faced, by the way, me too. These two little baby boys, hickory cheese log, Neil Cavuto. Get the hell out of here, millionaire TV asshole.
All of a sudden, 20 years is up, and now you're saying, man, that's a lot of money. I'm sitting behind my desk
then
signing
they
these
expect
checks.
it, right?
They expect
December
it.
rolls
And
around and I think Don's going to be good to me.
Neil, it's the same thing with the unions.
That's right.
They get their little 5%. They get another 2%. They get another 3%, 4%. Then all of a sudden, they're making more money than the people that own the company.
2%. They get the 4%. They get a baby. What? They're the ones who actually do it, motherfucker. Yeah, so Trump is not a friend of the unions. Don't ever be fooled by that bullshit. Speaking of someone who is not a friend to unions, speaking of someone who is a liar, a scoundrel, this guy, Barack Obama, just on the oil production side of it, by the end of his presidency, he had made America the #1 oil exporter in the world. And he bragged about it. I don't have that video. The one where he lectured at the James Baker, the James Baker Institute. He was like a prominent, never became a president or something, but he was a prominent figure in American politics for a long time. I think he was Secretary of State. Kind of one of those guys that's always in the mix. Enough so much that they had an institute at which presidents went and spoke at. Okay, so that was the one where Obama bragged about, and he lectured the audience, who are mostly, you know, ruling class types, that they should be grateful to him for making, he said, just say thank you, please. That was that famous line, bragging about making America a energy production, a net energy exporter, to benefit their Wall Street lines. All just fucking imaginary play money for these people. No actual material differences in any of their lives. Just the fact that their egos get to be satisfied in the ways that they're this crazed, overconsumption, overconsuming, overproducing cultural capitalism bullshit demands. Nobody on the planet has, very few people, I should say, on the planet will have done more to harm the future than Barack Obama, because of his emphasis on satisfying Wall Street and making America, and especially within the global warming scenario. So back to the union part. As everybody's heard, Obama promised to join picketers. This never happened. He would have been the first. He had an opportunity to actually show up for people. This is in 2007. This is Obama's famous statement saying he'll put on a pair of comfortable shoes and join picketers. Of course, he was lying.
And understand this, if American workers are being denied their right
to organize and collectively bargain. When I'm in the White House, I'll put on a comfortable pair of shoes myself. I'll walk on that picket line with you as President of the United States of America. Because workers deserve to know that somebody's standing in their corner.
Oh, did somebody give me money? Did Timothy Geithner and Larry Summers, my Wall Street cronies, who I'm going to appoint to tremendously important White House positions as soon as I get in office? Well, no. I'm the president. I don't defend workers. I lie to you during the campaign. I act like I actually give a shit about people and this planet. I want to become a Netflix producer, motherfucker. I'm going to live in the Hamptons. I'm going to have a mansion in Hawaii. Scoundrel, man. His legacy is only going to continue to be tarnished. It's so gross, like seeing the way these ruling class people like rehabilitate each other. The Bush family becoming buddies with the Obamas. That famous picture of Michelle Obama canoodling with George W. Bush. All that stuff is just like gonna age very, very, very poorly. Look at this asshole.
Denied their right to organize and collectively bargain. When I'm in the White House, I'll put on a comfortable pair of shoes myself. I'll walk on that picket line with you as President of the United States of America.
Nope, liar. I couldn't find my shoes. What do you want me to do? Walk out there barefoot? Secret Service says no barefoot presidents. Yeah, just a bullshitter. So, yeah, here's a PolitiFact article that I found about it. But, you know, yeah, the promise broken, they say. I guess you could call that a lie. Total bullshit, though, man. Oh, there was another. Yeah, he could have marched with picketers in Wisconsin, but instead voiced his support. Union workers protested at a 2011 state law, Act 10, that crippled public sector unions that helped make Republican Governor Scott Walker a national figure. When the NBA was threatening to strike, when the NBA players, like, because the athlete unions are very unique. They are labor. They still, all the dynamics we talk about, the owners versus workers, are there, but professional athletes are millionaires, so they're powerful. And they have unique skills that aren't easy to replace for these entertainment businesses we call sports. And Obama intervened in that on behalf of the owners to prevent the workers from actually, I think this was during the George Floyd stuff. He deflated that. So Obama shows up where he's needed. He intervened. He helped intervene with the Bernie Sanders to prevent Bernie Sanders from gaining any more victories during the 2020 primaries. So this guy, he's one of the great villains of our time. Here's another guy stealing some of that valor. Josh Hawley, Missouri congressperson. I don't think he's a senator. Is he a senator? Fuck, I don't know. Well, let me see what it says. Christian. Look at this guy. Christian constitutional lawyer, husband to Aaron, dad to Elijah Blaze. Blaise. Is that Glenn Beck? Did he have a baby with Glenn Beck? And Abigail, he's a senator from Missouri. He says, pretending to give a shit. Privileged to visit the picket line in Wentzville today. Wentzville's a town. It sounds like the name of somewhere you would have left. Where'd you come from? Wentzville? Why, I knew that. You went there. These workers deserve better pay, better benefits, and a guarantee their jobs will stay in America. Bullshit. Josh Hawley's lying. So he's got some photos of him standing around with the UAW. Got some tight jeans on there, though. I do kind of like his butt. Look at that butt. Pretending to give a crap. Just another politician actually standing by somebody who he would go turn around and vote for this guy to take food out of his kids' mouths and force his children to maybe not force the children to work, but lower child labor laws. He writes, these companies are making billions in profits and spending billions on idiotic climate change initiative. How is that even in a debate that we should give a shit about the climate? It's like we're all in the same aquarium, dumb fucks. We should have clean water in our aquarium we're trapped in. There's a range at which an animal can survive, a certain set of conditions in which an animal can do well. And once you exit those conditions, the timer starts. Until everybody can't do it anymore. And then that fucks everything. Like, why is this even political? Climate change is politicized because the solutions to climate change are the same thing, are the diminishment of power all the things that someone like myself would argue for is more equitable distribution of power. I want to maximize democracy in the world so that human communities can develop around sustaining ourselves in harmony with the planet we're on. And that means maybe less shit. That means doing things probably quite differently in some ways. Not that there's a simple switch to flip on that one, which is why the mechanism to achieve that is increasing people's access to democracy, to having their voice heard. Clumsy as a process as that might be. One worker told me it takes 3 paychecks to make his rent payment in St. Charles County, and he has a wife and 3 kids to support. Meanwhile, the GM CEO makes $30+ million. This guy takes money from big fucking CEOs. This guy doesn't give a shit about this person. The fact that this guy someone has to work the fact that it takes 3 paychecks is a sign that Josh Hawley's policies have been implemented well. This is bullshit. Another worker told me he works for Monday to Saturday and is often asked to work Sunday also. No time for family or church. That's wrong. America made these huge corporations what they are. Now they owe some loyalty and basic fairness to American workers. Stop offshoring. Stop investing in China. Got to throw in a little bit of that World War III racism there. Stop making Americans workers compete with slave labor. Invest in America. Sure, Josh. Are you doing anything about the slavery in America? Are you reforming are you trying to amend the Constitution to get rid of slavery? To get rid of the 13th Amendment? Or alter it to get rid of the pro-slavery part? But yeah, this guy is just completely full of it. So what's happening with child labor, by the way? Here's the Missouri Independent. Kids at work. States try to ease child labor laws at behest of industry. Bills doing... Now, I didn't have the time to find this, but I'm basing some assumptions here. Is that because of Josh Hawley's fealty to the Republican Party, and is an aspiring... I think he wants to be a president someday or some kind of national... I mean, he's already got national office, but... that he would support all this stuff, that he would be in favor of this. He would never, ever, it would be, it's anathema to conservative orthodoxy to do anything that helps workers besides the bare minimum it might take to sustain them enough so they can go back to work and continue to consume, to feed this system of overconsumption. We're in the middle of a planet-destroying process. Subheadline: Bills doing away with work permits and extending work hours for teens 16 and older have cleared legislative committees in Missouri. So what's the date here? April 7th, 2023 by Ariana Figueroa. Lawmakers in 11 states have either passed or introduced laws to roll back child labor laws, a push that comes from industry trade organizations and mostly conservative legislators as businesses scramble for low-wage workers. In the past 2 years, those states have moved to extend working hours for children, eliminate work permit requirements, and lower the age for teens to handle alcohol or work in hazardous industries. These are the bad people. These are really, really terrible humans. Anybody pushing for this. At the same time, there has been a 69% increase in children employed illegally by companies since 2018, according to the U.S. Department of Labor. If we're going to lock people up, we should be locking up people who hire children to do their work. I'm not talking about a 14-year-old helping an ice cream shop or something like that. I think there should be protections there as well. Much of this is about industrial production. There's been multiple stories I've seen of kids who have been injured. But these are mostly about, this is about child trafficking. This is about labor and human and child trafficking. The rich white kids who go to school with these senators' children are not going to be the ones affected by this stuff. There are a lot of migrant children. There are some of them don't even have families here. They've just been separated, who they can force into these roles, into these jobs. I know Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Trump's former spokesperson, who is now governor of Arkansas, was very proudly bragging about all these child labor protections that they had rolled back. It's about human trafficking. These are the people that scream and yell about trans grooming and gay teachers grooming, and we got to ban books, and the drag queens are trying to groom it. Meanwhile, what are they really doing? Besides their religious institutions, which are rape factories, They're also trying to turn children over who have no protections, the most marginalized people, migrant kids especially, over to capitalists so that they can exploit them for work, because they're not likely to form a union. They're not likely to stand up or ask for a raise. They're going to put up with anything, and then they're going to get injured. They'll just go away. There's always another one. You're just a fucking animal to them. I mean, that's something I say. It's like the whole economy, the entire system, they want slaves or robots. So there's slaves on one end, maximum leverage over humans on one side, and then there's the inhuman, I don't know what you call it, anti-human, but then there's the robots, because robots aren't humans. And between that, and this is clumsy because obviously slaves are, but like the humanity of humans, the neurodivergent part of us too, like the fact that we're not all the same, not everybody can handle the same stresses or brings the same skills. It's a huge and complex thing, a culture and a society with this many people, obviously, duh. But that humanity that we insist upon being respected is what they're always against, because your humanity being defended, your pain being worthy of your community reacting. That's kind of how I conceptualize the visible dignity, is that when your pain is someone else's emergency, that's a sign that you live in a dignified manner in some sense. I'm not sure if dignity is the right concept there. I know I'm struggling with that whole one, but because whose pain do they rush to the defense of? The wealthy. Oh, your stock price is going down. Oh my God. Oh crap. Everybody's stock price. Oh shit. We better inject a whole bunch of money into the rich people so that we can make sure that they don't slow down their rate of extraction. Meanwhile, regular people are suffering with inability to see doctors, with injuries that they can't get treated, with all kinds of reasons why all kinds of compromises that we're forced to make. The time that's used up by overwork. Sorry, I just lost track of why I went down that jag. But here we go, a little more. It is irresponsible for states. Oh my God, it's almost 2 hours already. It is irresponsible for states to consider loosening child labor protections. Seema Nanda, the U.S. Solicitor of Labor, said in a statement to States Newsroom. States Newsroom is like a thing. Okay. Federal and state entities should be working together to increase accountability and ramp up enforcement, not make it easier to illegally hire children to do what are often dangerous jobs, she said, adding that the Labor Department will continue to enforce longstanding federal child labor protections. This year alone, lawmakers in 7 states have introduced or passed bills that would ease child labor laws. Good work, America. While we're finding out, this quoting somebody, while we're finding out that child labor is more pervasive and more dangerous than we thought, these states have decided, oh, now is a good time to weaken the child labor laws, said Reed Mackey, the director of child labor issues and coordinator at the Child Labor Coalition. So that's appalling. That's really just mind-boggling. Unboggle your mind, everybody. A bill eliminating work permits for teens cleared a Missouri State Senate committee earlier this year, and legislation that would extend working hours for teens 16 and older from 7 p.m. on a school night to 10 p.m. has advanced in the Missouri House. So, yeah, we used to try to protect kids. I mean, it's never been sufficient, but they're going after to make it worse. Just at the behest of capitalists, factory owners, factory production, factory farming, risky jobs, low leverage employees who aren't going to stand up for themselves. In Arkansas, the legislature passed a law that eliminates age verification requirements for children under 16 to prove their age to get a job. Oh, how old are you there, kid? Wink, wink. Well, you speak Spanish? Okay, well, then you're 16. I don't even need to write it down anymore. Nice. Looks 16 to me. Get to work. We don't need any paperwork. I don't need to see your ID. Will you be here tonight at 11 p.m. for the late shift? Great. Good. They're getting so not having to do any verification just means no paper trail. This is just enabling what I would consider to be among the most criminal kind of thing I could imagine, which is employing children to do dangerous stuff. My first job, I was 13, worked at a horse barn, I was really proud of this too. I got paid $20 a day, which I only realized like in the last few years, like how actually really horrible that was. Even in 1992 or 1993 or whatever it was. It was sometimes physically demanding, and it was like, you know, my dad would drop me off on his way to work and then he would come pick me up. I got to drive around a car, the lawnmower thing, and I actually got pretty decent at backing up a little cart thing that I used to drive around with. It was fun. Yeah, I mucked stalls. I mucked stalls and swept and helped out around it, and like I know it sounds they weren't always getting going as soon as I got dropped off. So I would like have a soda and play Nintendo for like maybe 30 minutes before they were like, all right, let's go to the barn. So it wasn't one of these sorts of things, but I was 13 years old putting in a 6 to 8 hour day, 5 days a week for $20. Like that was not okay overall. I mean, it's still I think some work, children working there's nuance to this whole stuff, you know, obviously too. Like people in their teenage years exerting effort to do work. This was a summer job that I'm talking about. I wasn't going then trying to go to school or anything either. It's not like it was that. Yeah. So, but I'm not even sure what I'm saying, but like, it's not necessarily bad that someone in their teens has a job or works or whatever. But when you're codifying historical trends of abuse and exploitation, just as capitalists have always done, especially with and I don't think people really appreciate, I actually kind of want to read books about this, and I'm very drawn to the 1800s, to like the 19th century industrial age, for all kinds of different angles to that era that I'm very ignorant about a lot of it too. I need to read more and try to like delve into that more too, if I'm going to be making these kinds of arguments on the internet. But with that background, with that history, with who we know these people are, with the legacy that they're trying to return to, it's really dangerous. A lot of people are going to get hurt, and it's going to affect people in ways that are terrible. Not literally everybody, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't. Yeah, it's just horrible. So you can see all these different states here. Let's see. This is another child labor protections under attack. I'm not going to read a ton here, but Labor Tribune. .com, child labor laws are under attack in Missouri and states across the country, April 3rd, 2023. Like, here's a little picture of a kid. U.S. Department of Labor officials interviewed this worker at a ground beef floor at a JBS USA meat processing facility in Grand Island, Nebraska, as part of an investigation into alleged child labor practices by Packers Sanitation Service. So why isn't the CEO of this fucking company in prison? If they get caught, maybe they pay a fine at most. Look at this kid. Big gloves. I don't know how old the child is in that picture. Yeah, so the enforcement, everything is just out of whack. So here's Shawn Fain, UAW president. I had bookmarked this. This is from a little bit back, 12 days ago. He does these streams. I'd sort of not really dialed in. I mean, I'd been seeing a lot of attention being paid to what this guy's been saying as this strike has been gearing up and stuff, and it seems like he's doing a really great job, especially in contrast to the previous leadership of this union. And I like that he's speaking about the broader themes and broader structures of labor, as far as the billionaires and the millionaires controlling things. And he's not just talking about his own micro, it's a big union, but his own micro interests as a union president. He's speaking to the overall role of work, the overall kind of philosophical underpinnings of labor and stuff. So I just bookmarked this bit here where he talks about the ways these companies benefit from union labor.
So it's not surprising that as we get closer and closer to the contract expiration at the Big Three, we're seeing the companies and the corporate media increase their fear tactics. They want to say that our righteous fight for a higher quality of life for the working class would wreck the economy. They pretend that the sky will fall if we get our fair share of the $250 billion the Big Three has made over the past decade. But it's not just the economy. When they talk about that and they say we'll wreck the economy, it's not the economy that'll wreck, it's their economy. It's the billionaire economy. That's what they're worried about. So let's talk facts.
There you go.
In this one chart, You can see the entire economic story of the big three over the past few years. In just 4
Yo, drop the name lower third there, buddy. You're blocking your blocking your graphic. I've done talk show editing and stuff, yeah, so he had this chart. Here's profits on the one side up 65%, pay up 40%. This is the big three executives. Buybacks with arrows up 1,500%, way off the chart. That's why they have these arrows. Average prices of cars up 34%, inflation 20% up. UAW top wages have only gone up 6%, and labor costs per vehicle 4 to 5%. Let's let him talk.
4 years, big three profits have shot up 65%. Business is booming. Over that same period, CEO pay has skyrocketed by 40%. They're absolutely rolling in the money. Big three spending on stock buybacks, money they lavish on Wall Street, is up a staggering 1,500%. It's literally off the charts.
Stock buybacks used to be illegal. It's when a company has a giant excess of money and they could choose how to spend it. Give money to workers, pay out dividends even to their shareholders, to their stockholders, invest it back into the company, into expansion, or just sit on it even. I think that's also an option. But one thing that they weren't allowed to do was purchase their own stocks, which is essentially why it's a buyback. Is when you buy your own stock is you're reducing the total number of stocks available, which increases the price of the stocks that are left. If you have 1,200 shares of stock and then you buy back 200 of them, now only 1,000 shares of stock exist, and per price per stock, now that's gone up. You've just inflated your own stock price. And since so much of these compensation and bonus packages through these CEOs of the executive class and above is connected to stocks, this is just another way for them to extract blood from the rock, to squeeze more profits out of the system for themselves. And it all comes from the entropy gathering power of collective labor and land. When I say land, I mean overall resources, materials.
Average are up a mere 6%. So we've continued to fall further behind. And finally, and this is key, the cost of labor for the big three is around 4 to 5% of the total operations. So think about that. They could double our wages and continue to fall further behind.
Sorry, I just want to make a comment here. And 4 to 5%. This is just as a graphics. This 4 to 5%, I don't doubt their figure here, but this is not an increase. Everything else here is an increase. So there's no plus next to the 4 or 5%. I guess that's why this is a little bit, I don't want to say misleading, but just in terms of how you, infographic kind of praxis, I guess. Yeah, because if you're reading this chart, you see all these pluses up. Everything's just an increase until you get over here, this should almost be like its own like side box that says that the cost of labor per vehicle, because it sort of seems like it's gone up by 4 to 5%. What they're saying, and he does make it clear by saying it, is that the cost per vehicle is 4 to 5%. Labor composes a tiny fraction, so 96 to 95% is non-labor when it comes to what they're spending on the vehicles.
Finally, and this is key, the cost of labor for the big three is around 4 to 5% of the total operations. So think about that. They could double our wages and not raise car prices and still make billions of dollars in profit. They spent more money enriching shareholders in a year than they spent on us in the entirety of the last contract cycle. They want to scare the American people into thinking that auto workers are the problem. We're not the problem. That chart is the problem. Corporate greed is the problem.
Bosses are the problem. We need leaders. We don't need bosses. Organizing humans is difficult. Having people in positions of power in order to facilitate groups of humans doing things is always going to be a need. We can't just get rid of the concept of collective organization, meaning we need leaders, but leaders should be chosen democratically by those they lead and held accountable through transparent culturally, transparency imposed on it by a shift in the culture of what it means to have work at all. So yeah, we don't need these fucking bosses. They're the fucking problem, in my opinion, overall. Let's just go to this most replayed here on the YouTube video here just to see what it is. I'm not even sure.
Progression to top rate, the restoration of pensions and post-retirement health care for all. All three companies at this point have agreed to cut our progression to the top rate in half.
Okay, so he's just showing the differences between what they're asking for and what the three companies are offering. All right, so that's Shawn Fain in that one. Here's an interview. I was maybe going to play this entire thing. I know we're at 2 hours. God damn it. I still have, I should just do 2 podcasts, to be honest. Yeah, how much? God, I got so much more to go here. Maybe I'll do another. Maybe we'll just start over and do like a Robert Menendez corruption podcast. Maybe I'll just do 2 today. Why the fuck not? I got so much. I'm trying to play catch up anyway. I'm constantly feeling I'm behind on this show. So here is an interview with a corporatist with the mainstream media, Face the Nation. That's CBS's Sunday morning news show. UAW President Shawn Fain says 21% pay hike offered by Chrysler parent Stellantis is a no-go, is the title, is the headline. So let's just get it started here.
To United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain. Good morning to you, sir. You have said that you had reasonably productive conversations with Ford yesterday. Does that mean they're going to put a more generous offer on the table?
Why is generosity even in this equation? You notice how weird that is? It's like the WGA stuff, like with the fucking AMPTP, the Hollywood bosses. They're generous. Okay, okay, we'll let you keep a little bit more of your own value that you produce. We'll allow that. Aren't we being generous? She's already framing it in a way that shows the corporatization or corporatized media that we have. Anyway.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. And that's up to them. The reason we're in this situation right now is because all 3 of the big 3 companies chose to wait. They chose not to negotiate for the 8 weeks we had. We started this back in July. And we told them then, don't wait till the last minute or you're going to find yourself in a bad position. And unfortunately, they chose to wait till the last week to get down and start talking, to get serious about this. And that's where we are now. And if we don't get better offers and we don't get down and take care of the members' needs, then we're going to amp this thing up even more.
Well, you said progress is slow. Will you order strikes at additional plants this week? Are you preparing for that?
We're prepared to do whatever we have to do. So the membership is ready. The membership is fed up. We're fed up with falling behind. It's been decades of falling behind, and especially this past decade, in the most wealthiest times in the history of these companies. There is no excuse. These companies have made $250 billion in the last 10 years, $21 billion in the last 6 months alone. And our workers' wages and conditions have went backwards.
But they could make a little bit more, Shawn. They could take the food and medicine out of a child's hand. You know how much of a burden it is for these super wealthy hedge fund managers and the CEO class? Do you know how much of a challenge it is for them that they're being forced by these collective union guys to allow them to feed their kids. They could take away some of that food. That food could be profits. If that money goes into the worker's pocket, they spend it on something for their children, or maybe they save it for their own retirement or something. But that's a waste. Healing a child? That could be profit. You know how expensive Maseratis are going to be in 30,000 years? They need more, Shawn. They have politicians to bribe. They have to get gold bars and ship them to politicians. They have to buy islands so that they can collectively have little sexual assault academies with their billionaire buddies. They have to bribe fuckers like Trump. They have to fund their think tanks. They need that money, Shawn. It's not enough.
You're asking for 36% pay raises.
I like that she's doing this from the set of the USS Enterprise, though. That's kind of this one wide shot. Like, look at this fucking thing. Look at that place. Look where she lives. This lady's working from home. Is that salmon? Is she wearing salmon? Is that color? It's like kind of a pinkish. It's kind of a highly saturated salmon. Anyway, let's see what she says about this next ask here. Here we go.
For 36% pay raises, our reporter just laid out there. Stellantis said they've offered 21%. What are you expecting into tomorrow's negotiation with them? That seems forward movement.
We've asked for 40% pay increases, and the reason we asked for 40% pay increases is because in the last 4 years alone, the CEO pay went up 40%. They're already millionaires. Right. You know, it's shameful that you know, one of the leaders of one of the corporations sitting in his second home in Acapulco while we're bargaining, rather than being at the bargaining table. And so, you know, our demands are just. We're asking for our fair share in this economy and the fruits of our labor.
So 21% is a no-go for you.
Why aren't you submitting, Shawn? Give it up. What? It's not good enough?
It's definitely a no-go, and we've made that very clear to the companies.
Ford's CEO said last November that electric vehicles are going to require 40% less labor to produce than combustion vehicles. I know it may not be the intention, but I wonder how you think this transition to electric vehicles may be eating away at your union strength.
Well, I don't believe it's eating away at our union strength. It is the way it is right now. Unfortunately, this is what's wrong with our economy, and this is what's wrong with America right now. The billionaire class keeps taking more and more, and the working class keeps getting left behind. And the unfortunate part in this transition right now, like always, go back to the Great Recession. The banks got bailed out by our taxpayer dollars, and they just kept on doing what they do, while working class people's homes got foreclosed on.
Automakers got bailed out too.
Go back to the, you know, yes, automakers got bailed out.
Taxpayers
and
lost
again,
money on that.
The workers were unfairly, the workers were unfairly blamed for everything that was wrong with those companies. It was bad decisions on the parts of the companies that put us in that position. And the sad reality is, you know, the workers paid the price for that. We made all the sacrifices, and after a decade of massive profits, the workers have went backwards. Our wages have went backwards. Our benefits have went backwards. The majority of our members have zero retirement security now. And meanwhile, it's insulting that a CEO gets on air in the last few days and says that her $29 million salary is justified by her performance. No, it's not. It's justified by the performance of the worker on the backs of the workers and by paying them poverty wages. And that's unacceptable in this country.
Well, I know. You've also said, though.
Yeah, so I can't say I'm familiar with the kind of interviews previous union leaders of the UAW. There's an interesting story there, though. Like a lot of these legacy, some of these unions had sort of, I've listened to some podcasts about this and stuff. So, but I know there's articles and books and shit, where there was a generation. That's an overly broad statement, but where the leaders of the unions can often get co-opted by the process. And your union is a human construct. And they can be pretty big. They can involve a lot of people. Thus, their ability to perform actions like this and to actually impose powers. But this is where leadership needs to be accountable. And Shawn Fain seems like a very different sort of breed, a newer generation of union leaders who is calling out the excesses, the largesse of the billionaires and the millionaires. I mean, it's important stuff. He sounds like Bernie Sanders in a lot of ways. Can you always push harder left? Yeah, of course, no doubt, no, indeed. But for this guy, for a union guy to be on a prominent Sunday morning talk show is much as we are, our media ecosystem is fractured into a million little pieces these days. These mainstream outlets still do have tremendous influence because they're the ones that the legislators watch. They're the ones that the business class watches Sundays, and then through the kind of setting the tone. And so like the Sunday round of talk shows is still a big part of the neoliberal architecture of information, the information economy that spins throughout the ruling class, the media class, the ownership class, and the the upper levels, and the political junkies like myself. I don't get up and watch the Sunday shows. I used to. I used to watch them a lot over the years. I've been paying attention to fucking politics since I was scooping horse shit at that barn.
So it's a shell game to talk about, CEOs handing back part of their money. You're talking about something that's more fundamental.
But anyway, just to finish that thought, though, I'm just thinking of some of the podcasts I listened to where the previous generations of union leaders, where they kind of they get very high salaries and they end up sort of just towing the management line and just sort of getting workers to just kind of take what they're offered and not really fight too hard. And they become part of capitalism has this incredibly powerful and effective way of co-opting almost anything, including the leadership of the union. That's the way, leadership is the same as like a representative democracy, sort of like the leadership is sort of the proxy for that group of people. And when you have a guy like this standing there, actually bringing up that the guy sitting in his second home or one of his vacation homes making this pronouncements, or the lady making $29 million as a CEO, and justifying it based on her performance, as if she's Goro putting together all the cars, screwing the bolts together and shit, and assembling things and taking the risks and putting her body on the line. She doesn't do anything. Meetings with other rich people is what she does. She gets her ass kissed. Switches, just controlling gates of flow of money. And that's what they call performance, because at that level, when you're up to that point, when you're at the kind of and they all float around on these clouds of accountants and lawyers too, by the way. They all have these these underling suck ups that are all well paid. The CEOs, the executive class, they get to they just think of you as just a cow in a field. You're a crop to them. And so this guy is representing the crops, and the crops are human beings here. And so he's actually standing up for it. And I think that's great. I actually want to do a deeper on my own, like look and see some more stuff with Shawn Fain, because I want to talk about him more in this show.
To the structure of this entire sector of the economy. And that's why I'm asking you about the transition, because many of the factories in this country that make batteries for those electric vehicles are not unionized. And that is where the White House is pushing the industry to go, more towards those electric vehicles. Isn't that part of this challenge for you, leverage-wise?
So the challenge is, where we're going to go as a country. Again, I get back to this point. Our tax dollars are financing a massive portion of this transition to EV. We believe in a green economy. We have to have clean water. We have to have clean air. Anyone that doesn't believe global warming is happening isn't paying attention. Mm-hmm. But this transition has to be a just transition. And a just transition means if our tax dollars are going to finance this transition, then labor can't be left behind. And as it stands right now, the workers are being left behind. The companies want to talk about being competitive. Yeah. It's not about being competitive. Competitive is a code word for race to the bottom. What they want is they want to pay us poverty wages so they can keep on making billions more in profits, and they can keep enriching the shareholders and the CEOs and the corporate executives, while the workers pay the price for it and get left behind. That's got to stop in this country.
Ford has said that your demands would more than double the labor costs, which are already significantly higher than the labor costs at Tesla, at Toyota, and other foreign-owned automakers who don't use union labor. So how do you make the case that these
good reason to unionize those places?
Automakers need to keep investing in more expensive union shops rather than move to these right-to-work states?
Man, what a fucking loaded-ass question that was.
First off, labor costs are about 5% of the cost of the vehicle. They could double our wages and not raise the price of the vehicles and still make billions in profits. It's a choice. And the fact that they want to compare it to how pitiful Tesla pays their workers and other companies pay their workers, that's what this whole argument's about. Workers in this country got to decide if they want a better life for themselves instead of scraping to get by paycheck to paycheck while everybody else walks away with the loot. Yeah. And, when we bargain good contracts, going back to the founding of this union.
I like that he said loot. That's a good word. That's a good video game word for us nerds and the younger generations. We all love loot, don't we? Why do the bosses get all the loot? You find chest with gold coins in a cape that has +5 mana. That should go to everybody. Yeah, I'm gonna go on my corporate mortality jag, but it's just like why did we have to give the profits to the people who don't do the work in it anyway? This is what an economy built around a proper socialist economy where workers control the means of production. That means that the workers have a say in where their own value goes, and it's conducted through leadership, democratically accountable leadership. Instead, we have these private regimes where you have they call them public companies. That just means that you can purchase your own private share via the public interface of the stock market, which is its own kind of that's the trophy wall of capitalism, where they just put all their ill-gotten gains up, and then you get to access it. And like something like 80% of the stock market's owned by the top 10% of the country, or something like that, or the top 2 or 5%, something like that. It's not a democratizing thing. I always picture like in There Will Be Blood, where they're pouring like the little buckets of oil, like holding the baby, and he's like got a bucket of oil, and they're like filling up this like low depression in the desert with oil. They're just making their, like, the stock market is that, but it's profits, it's wealth. And then there's all these exchange value kind of forces that go into play, where prices go up because of the fervor that comes from the irrational set of irrationality that's built into these crazed markets too, where you get these bubbles, and where you get people buying things based on perceptions and based on vibes, or you get these panicky sell-offs and stuff like that. So even in the world I would design, I don't even know if I would necessarily not have something like that. It would just be, by that I mean a stock market, or a way for the public to involve itself. By public, again, I mean private individuals to purchase their cut of something like that. But the concept that should mean you pay less taxes and that you get more profit, and all for just the benefit, all for the offering of a little bit of money to the company, because that's the idea. That's the sort of textbook, sort of a propagandized 4th grade version of it, is that, well, if you're an investor, that means that the company needs your money in order to buy that next factory, in which then they go off into the market, they sell their shit, they come back with a profit, and then you get your share that you purchased, which all of it was made possible because they needed money. If we're going to have an economy built around this technology of money, that's arguably not necessarily a bad thing. But what if the workers themselves were the ones calling the shots about how to do that? Because the downstream effects of such a world would be that you wouldn't lose your job because it's more profitable to ship the factory over to Mexico. This whole competitive thing that she referenced with like these other companies that don't pay as much. So how come you guys are already getting paid more than the other companies? Why are you asking for more? Don't you realize that that's unfair? She's not even saying it's unfair. She's saying she framed it in terms of competitiveness. Fuck, I just lost the train of thought. Damn it. Ugh. Stupid train. Darn it. The companies the privatization of the profits and the concentration of the profits. And I still think that in the world I'm talking about, the fantasy that I'll never see in my lifetime, that's for sure, is the people who are in charge will probably be paid more. I don't think people generally have a notion of that as being wrong. I'm not saying someone who has more experience, or they take on more of the stress and the responsibility, if that's even the case with these people. They get to go on vacations, they get to live in luxury, they get to have all this other stuff. But it's the reason they fight it so much is not even about the material stuff. That's why I always say the buying a Maserati in 20,000 years, because that's absurd, but that's what they're doing. But that's not what it is. The reason they want their profits in their hands, it's not because of that Maserati. It's because if you have it, your leverage goes up. If your kids are fed properly and taken care of and educated well and have time off, and you have time, and you can fulfill your humanity in a way that is durable and predictable, community grows. They starve communities of resources, and they starve you of time and money, which are kind of the same thing in a lot of ways, as we could talk about. But they're denying the necessary nutrient for leverage, which is community. Community is the nutrient for leverage. Community empowers someone to stand up for themselves. And if everybody can stand up for themselves because they all come from a safe, predictable, healthy community, you have a negotiation about how you're going to operate society. But it's a negotiation among relatively equal partners, or relatively equal people. There's going to be differences. There would probably be lots of disputes, no doubt. But this is just farming. This is old world capitalists controlling culture using the isms that we all know, racism and etc., to sustain division. And then they bribe the politicians, and then they fund all the lobbying and all that other shit for nothing. I mean, meaning for no material difference in their lives. Profits for GE or for these companies shift around a little bit, but they go down. Oh my God, I had a bad quarter. Oh my God, I disappointed my investor group over here or whatever. Now they're thinking about maybe investing somewhere else, because they're always just kind of, it's this weird churn that is in that investor class that they're slaves to, slavishly devoted to. But why? They don't make the money. They control switches. You could argue they have some influence on it. Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't exclude that from where it goes, but they should have to. This is sort of just like what I was saying with the bosses of the Hollywood companies should be the ones outside picketing, begging for the luxuries that they are allowed. It's flipped. The power should be in the collective, because instead what we still have the body doing the work. Capitalism's power is collective action. They still need people and land, but they're just parasites in the brainstem. So we need to extract that part. If you look at the design of this system, not even mentioning that their craven cancer logic of maximizing profit, maximizing extraction, is going to destroy the planet. But just getting rid of the goddamn parasites and letting the body then resume something that could really be great. A lot of people would be fine with having some doing shitty work. No bad jobs. Yes to shitty work. No to bad jobs. I like that because it doesn't really. I don't want yes to shitty work, but like some people. I mean, honestly, in my own life, man, my woodworking job, I had a lot of mixed feelings about it, but it was doing woodworking at 7 a.m. in the morning, 4 days a week. Fucking hated it. Driving through traffic at 6:30, miserable. And I didn't even know I was autistic at the time either. And now that I realize how what a very loud, overstimulating. If I didn't have my noise canceling earbuds, I was fucked. There was a couple days where I forgot it, and man, I panicked. I ended up buying extra set of headphones, and I had a backup system. There's no way I could handle that. Just from a regular safety standpoint. It's not just unique to autistic, but like I was saying, it's like, okay, now I'm starting to lose my track here. But the presence of these, it's like we can't kill the vampires. The vampires have always been in charge because they're the descendants of the colonialist European project of mugging the planet. So we have to negotiate. And the crops are starting to stand up for themselves, and they're starting to put people in charge who are actually willing to call them out. And the more you hear about it, the more you're like, yeah, this is fucking stupid. But like, oh, that's what I was saying. Like, I wouldn't necessarily even give a shit if my job was cleaning toilets. I feel like my skills probably could be put to something a little bit better, like making entertaining YouTube videos. I'm a very good video editor. I like to brag, at least. Maybe teaching or something. I really want to teach Premiere and Photoshop and stuff. But a crappy job? Okay. Yeah. This work sucks. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. A shitty work for a good job? Sure. A lot of people are okay with that. Because look what people are doing now. They're okay with crappy, horrible disrespect. They get so used to it. They get you so conditioned to having your life diminished, sacrificing your energy, giving up your time, giving up your development of healthy relationships with your own world, not living in a sustained, in a grounded, long-term community of people, and people still tolerate it and defend it even. But the world where I'm talking is, you're still going to have jobs like that out there. I mean, again, No bad jobs. But yes, some shitty work. Okay, that's a little bit better. Still got to work on this one. But from that, you would empower so much amazing inventiveness and art and creativity and cool stuff that humans are good at when we work together, when people are and science and education. Like, instead, we just have these vampires running the society so that the vampires can drink more blood. They can just fill up their gigantic puddle of blood, holding the baby, pouring the bucket of blood into the ground. This is a There Will Be Blood reference right here. Putting a little bit of blood on the baby's head. The religious, that guy, Paul Thomas Anderson, knew what he was doing with all the religious iconography that he snuck into that movie. Here we go.
People join the UAW because we set the standard. People join unions because it's a better way of life. And that's what we got to do. We have to bargain a good contract, and then we're going to go organize these places and bring these workers in so they get their fair share of the economy.
That's a threat to Tesla. We should unionize Tesla. That would be awesome if more and more of this stuff happens. If we start to unionize, and then eventually reaching sectoral wages. Why should a cleaning person in a hotel or anywhere, a janitor in one building does the same job as a janitor in another building? I'm sure there's little differences here and there. Maintenance type of work. That sort of stuff should be sectoral bargaining. They have that in some of the Nordic countries.
That they get nothing of right now. Most of these workers in those companies are scraping to get by so that greedy CEOs and greedy people like Elon Musk can build more rocket ships and shoot themselves in outer space. And that's unacceptable.
President Biden says he's the most pro-union president in American history, but you haven't endorsed him. What is it going to take for you to do that?
Our endorsements are going to be earned. We've been very clear about that, no matter what politician it is.
How does he earn it?
We expect action. We expect action, not words. And you know, this fight we're in right now, I mean, obviously, you know.
But he said it. He's a proven liar. Shawn, isn't that good enough? And Shawn says, no, we expect action.
People are talking about them trying to interject themselves into our negotiations. You know, this negotiating, our negotiators are fighting hard. Our leadership's fighting hard. It's going to be one at the negotiating table with our negotiating teams, with our members manning the picket lines and our allies out there. Who the president is now, who the former president was, or the presidents before them, isn't going to win this fight. This fight is all about one thing. It's about workers winning their fair share of economic justice instead of being left behind as they have been in the last decades.
We will be watching closely. Shawn Fain, thank you for your time today.
All right. Good job, Face the Nation. Shawn Penn, you have been faced the nation. Sometimes I call my cat Face. I say, hey, Face. Because when she's up on me at night and it's dark and she's gray, but she's got like white coloration around her face, and I just see her face and I go, hi, Face. That's cute. Why did I end that segment with that story? I'm trying to get rid of the cat, by the way. I don't have enough money for it anyway. It's also just very stressful, but she is very darling. Okay, so we're going to end this podcast. I'm not going to do... Okay, yeah, we'll finish up with the scab thing. Where's the... Okay, yeah, then we'll get to... I'll do a different show about Robert Menendez, the wonderful senator from Corruption Stan. I like that they think he is corrupt, taking bribes, but they're all fucking doing that. He just took the wrong kind. Okay, we'll get to that later. Why did I just put my legs up? This is uncomfortable. Good for Shawn Fain. Glad to see that. A little bit more here to go. Why the fuck not? 2 hours and 30 minutes already. Just keep pushing. Terrible. No wonder I can't get like and subscribe, everybody. Patreon.com/winners and losers. Give me a hand. Help fund my wrist brace. I need to buy some new ones, actually. Okay. In These Times magazine, auto workers and all of us deserve a much shorter work week. So something I've seen Shawn Fain talking about is the 4-day work week and getting 32 hours weeks instead of 40 for the same rate, for the same amount of pay as they were getting for a 40-hour work week. And the 4-day work week, I'm not going to, I have a whole thing. I actually I kind of want to. Every single advocacy organization that's trying to fight for change, activist organizations, should stop what they're doing and fight for the 4-day work week. Every single one. I know this is a ridiculous way to put it. I don't think it's actually going to work like that. But if they are able to achieve that, which would take a long time. It wouldn't be easy. They would then supercharge their ability to fight for their own cause by that point. I think you'd get there faster fighting, because what's missing most from all causes, and this is not just something true for lefties or liberals or conservative, it's true for everybody, is time and energy, rest, and having enough fucking hours to take care of your life. Maybe develop other things. And even if it only changes the ability for 1 or 2% of the people, I don't mean 4-day work week for 1 or 2%. I mean, like, activists, most people aren't going to suddenly get a 3-day weekend every week and then become activists. I'm not saying that, but you don't need that huge of a percentage to make a difference. So it's actually really, really wonderful that Shawn Fain has been talking about 32-hour work weeks. I'm actually really gratified to see it. I've been kind of tracking that for a while. It's already picked up a lot of steam in England. I think there's some, although their left is quite dismantled similarly to America in their own way. They're losing grip on their NHS, which is terrible. They're going to privatize their healthcare system over there. It's going to be a fucking nightmare. I feel sorry for them because it's going to end up being something like America's, which is a devastating way to treat people. But there have been more adopting of the 4-day work week in England, and I think Iceland has had some success with it. I know there was a case in Japan with Microsoft Japan switched to a 4-day work week. New Zealand has had a bunch of stuff, and here's why I think it'll work. It's because it's good for capitalists on a small scale. I mean, on a micro, not the entire global algorithm of capitalism exists outside any individual institution of capitalism. It's so big. It's global spanning now. But on any one, we should use their interest in their quarterly profits and their need to prove themselves growing faster than they did last quarter, all these crazy ways, to achieve what would be a liberatory thing, which is going from 5-day work week to 4-day work week. It's a big deal to do it on a broad scale, but we did it from 6 to 5. The only reason it was never 7, in fact, these rules were really more for white people. They had different sort of standards for how much labor was expected of you if you were in the slave class or if you were in the immigrant minorities and stuff like that. So like there's certainly some nuanced contours that should be, recognized, and like the kind of thing you'd read in a book about this stuff. But nevertheless, I mean, the only reason it wasn't 7 fully was because they wanted people to have a day off to go to church, and also because working people 7 days a week just destroys them over time. It doesn't take long. I worked, I did an animation thing, but I worked 12-hour days for 6 weeks in a row, 7 days. And I was fucking delirious by the end of that. That was all kind of I felt good about the work I did, but I did not. I was an independent kind of thing. It was, things could have been a way fine. It wasn't like for a big company either. I ended up getting paid like $17 an hour for that, and it was horrible. But I was so crazy by the end of it. And I start out crazy on a good day. What am I getting at? So 7 days a week is like virtually, it's more or less a no-go. Obviously, lots of people do that, and then people burn out, and it eats away at them, and it makes them worse at their jobs. The reason the 4-day work week is producing better profits for people, for companies, is because people are able to heal on the weekends. They're able to rest. My woodworking job was 4 days a week. The guy gave me an option. I could have done 5, but I was like, I can't, man. I'm 40 something. I fucking can't do this. And it didn't work. It fucked my arms up anyway. I worked with elbow pain and wrist pain for the last 2 or 3 months of that because I didn't have any health insurance. The job had no benefits, and I couldn't see a doctor, and I had to keep working because I needed to eat. And now I'm permanently, well, maybe not, I don't know, but now my wrists don't work. Great system. But it was 4 days a week, and it was awesome. I loved that part about it because I needed those other 3 days to kind of like, I would work on other projects that I'm always trying to do for my creative crazy impulses or whatever. But even that was tough because I needed to heal up, man. I was tired. But having that Saturday, I was off. I worked, Thursday was my last day. No, Friday was, I can't remember. Yeah, it was Tuesday through Friday. But having that Sunday where I didn't have to worry about having to go to work on Monday. That one day in the middle, because Saturday, because the way jobs are with a 5-day work week, you get one day off. Sorry, you get 2 days off, but the Saturday is for recovery and trying to catch up on stuff that you got to get done. But because you have to recover, because you're sort of tired and worn out from your 5 days of work, that's actually for the boss. You're recovering so that you can go back to work. So you're still in on your boss's scheme on Saturday, even though it's a day off. And then Sunday comes and you get the scaries because you're just dreading Monday morning when you got to get up and you got to plan your Sunday around having to go to fucking work. So your boss gets Sunday too. That's them. That's theirs as well. You're just parked in your work garage. Your house just basically becomes the boss's work cave where he stores his laborer or she. They store their laborer until the cow has to come back out of the barn and do another 5 days of work. The boss gets 7/7 of your week in a 5-day work week. And that's in an ideal situation. A lot of people are working way harder than just a 5-day. So having that one day in the middle where you've had that one day of rest already, and then you have a full day off, and then another day after that is so liberating. It's a big difference. And I want a world without, I want to go 28. I think a society should devote itself to minimizing work, maximizing leisure, and making something of it. I mean, if people want to work more, sure. I mean, when I'm excited about something I'm doing in a project on my own, I will work way the fuck more than 40 hours. I get obsessive with shit. It's gotten harder in recent years, I think, with autistic burnout and stuff that's been happening. But it's not about limiting that. It's different when it's your own autonomous decision. But when it's just something that you're doing to barely meet your human needs that you need so that you can continue to stay alive, so that you can keep going back to work, you're having, it's a cosmic crime at that point. And just having that middle day where their horizon does not have your fucking boss on it. You can travel in 3 days even. And then when you take days off, you get 4 days off and 5 days, so you get longer breaks. America has no paid time off. In Britain, it's 28 days a year of mandated paid days off. That's pretty much a 4-day work week as it is, if you take all those 28 days. Easily. And they should be. But I think that also includes their vacations. But having that one middle day is so wonderful. Just to know that you can do whatever the fuck you want. And I often feel guilty. I've been mostly unemployed for the last several years and struggling and everything. And it's like, I feel it's not a fun time. It's not like I'm enjoying these days where, it's miserable. I feel guilty all the time. I feel ashamed. It's really stressful. So to have that job, I'm working my ass off. And then I still get that 3-day weekend every week. Although for the last few months of my old job, I was in pain. My arms would hurt, but anyway, sorry, what am I fucking even getting at here? So we need to do the 4-day work week in order to liberate people from their time so that they can devote their time and energy to bettering the worlds that the society that we live in. And the only reason it's possible is because it's good for the bosses. It's actually good for capitalists. We can talk them into more money. That's why the 4-day work week is actually achievable in our lifetimes, because we can talk wealthy, craven freaks into more money. And a 4-day work week promises higher profits because people don't get sick as much. People don't have to spend as much money on rehiring people. People do much better work when they feel rested, when they feel respected. They put in a little bit of extra time here and there when they need to, and things become more efficient. And it would also help with a lot of unemployment too, because if it's a business that is open 7 days a week, you're going to have overlapping schedules, and it's going to be, it would be really wonderful. It'd be a sign of a society that's actually trying to do better. And then from that, we sneak in the Trojan horse of this is that now people have their energy returned in a way to achieve their human needs to achieve something closer to thriving or their fulfillment of their potential. A certain percentage of people is going to end up fighting harder for bettering their world, running for local offices, getting involved in their local communities. It'll strengthen everywhere. And ultimately, hopefully, weaken the capitalist class to the point where we can finally cut the parasite out of the brainstem. So I don't know if I'm going to read this whole thing. I didn't actually read it before, but this is a In These Times headline. Auto workers and all of us deserve a much shorter work week. A 20-hour work week is ours for the taking, says Alex Hahn, September 25th, 2023. May 1886, as part of a national movement to win an 8-hour workday, workers at the McCormick Harvesting Machine Company in Chicago are on strike. Police attack, killing at least one person and injuring multiple others. The next day, labor leaders organize a peaceful mass rally at Haymarket Square. A bomb goes off and police indiscriminately shoot protesters. The confrontation became an international rallying cry for labor advocates, but it would be 54 more years before the 40-hour work week became enshrined by the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. A year later, the rapidly growing United Auto Workers brought to heel the Ford Motor Company, run by the fucking Nazi Henry Ford, perhaps the most anti-union of the big three automakers of the time, by securing workers' first collective bargaining agreement with the company. The growth of the industrial economy, along with a militant and newly organized working class, would force meaningful concessions from capital, but the 8-hour workday and a 40-hour work week would require a global crisis. In this case, capital's need for labor peace during World War II to become a reality. We now have the great opportunity of existing not in the midst of a single global crisis, but a polycrisis. Hey, I'm down with that. You're poly? I'm good. Does everybody feel respected? Yeah, that sounds fine. I was a girl's side peach for a little bit back when, she was a poly or something, and she was for open relation. I don't know if it was whatever. It was fine. I even had a bit about it, how like I was very flattered when I thought she was cheating on me, but then I found out it was a respectful thing that was happening, and then it wasn't as fun anymore. No, it was still fun. I loved it. It was great. Humans are the orgy monkeys. Why am I injecting this into this thing? Okay, as historian Adam Tooze writes, in the polycrisis, the shocks are disparate, but they interact so that the whole is even more overwhelming than the sum of the parts. It's also harder to pin down, too. I think that's among the reasons people are so sort of scatterbrained and disjointed when it comes to diagnosing the real sources of power. So if you simplify things to just everything's about leverage, I feel like that's a good starting point for understanding does this set of conditions increase leverage for the bosses or decrease leverage for the bosses? That's really the only math that matters. At least that's a starting point for figuring out what's going on, in my opinion. Back to the article. Yes, we are potentially overwhelmed and left adrift by the convergence of a once-in-100 years pandemic, the unmasking of the deep impacts of climate change, the protracted and armed conflicts in Ukraine and across Africa and the Middle East, and an uncertain transition to a future beyond neoliberal economics. But therein lies the opportunity. Our climate future demands nothing less than a transformation of our political economy to focus on human needs over shareholder returns. Where better to start than a reimagination and recalibration of our relationship to capital and production, to the amount of time we are compelled to spend doing what Americans do best, which is to say, work. Work? Wait, it's a question mark there. Which is to say, work? I think I fucked up reading that. I would say I'm not taking issue with, what is it, Alexan? Was that the name? Yeah, Alexan. I'm not taking issue with this writer here, but I'm saying, I think what Americans do best is not work, it's accept our lot. It's put up with work. It's to say, I guess what am I supposed to do? That's just how it is. Got to do it. Americans are so conditioned to, we've had our imaginations broken on purpose. And it's only getting worse, man. These screens are fucking us all up. All right, here we go. This summer, the United Auto Workers, led by its first popularly elected president, Shawn Fain, began its next contract campaign with the Big Three, a union whose strength has been gutted by decades of deindustrialization, couldn't be blamed if it chose, in a moment of enormous industry change, to mount a purely defensive fight. But the union seems to be rising to the moment and is clearly going on the offensive. We have to work longer and harder just to maintain the same standard of living that we had before, Fain recently told his union. That means more time at work and less time living life. That means little league games and family reunions. It means less time outdoors, less time traveling, less time pursuing our passions and our hobbies. Which is like podcasting, which is everybody's passion and hobby, right? According to my research, according to my survey, Fain is demanding a 32-hour work week, a reasonable demand that has the potential to help meet part of our current crisis. And we should all be asking for more. In a time of record corporate profits, when workers are continuously exploited and life expectancy is declining, there's no reason workers shouldn't demand everything. I agree. A 20-hour work week would require the kind of shift in economic common sense necessary for a future worth living. Our ability to imagine that livable climate future depends on our ability to connect with each other, to take care of the basic needs of our society, to create meaningful work for all. In a polycrisis, we can't tinker around the edges. I kind of read that with a weird tone there, but to create the world we need, we must make the kind of demands that can deliver real transformation. Of course, we'll take 32 today, and we'll use those 8 hours to organize for tomorrow. That's essentially the argument I've been making before I even read this. It's just like, if we can cut down from 40 to 32, we open up the carburetor. I don't even know how that works, but we are able to then operate on a different level of engagement and community health. And it'll take time too, because people are stressed and tired, and you can do all kinds of things with 3 days that you can't do with 2. Man, it's really something else. So there you go. Thanks, Alex, Executive Director of In These Times. He's organized with unions and the community. All right, good. All right. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you letting me put your article on the podcast. Check the link for a description or whatever I just said. Labor notes. Okay, Scabs. Ooh, don't get me started. Worst people. The only people worse than Scabs are the bosses that hire union busting firms. The union busters. They win the award for the worst people, but Scabs are. But the thing is, in a society built around precarity, if someone who becomes a scab, you still have to offer, and it's fair, even if it's appropriate to treat them with animosity and hostility and judgment. They should be invited into the union. They should have. I'm not saying this is the only way to respond to a scab. I'm saying that, like, the moral difference between a boss who's a union buster and a capitalist and a scab is big. Like I'm saying, judge the scab harshly, but that's someone who's also just trying to feed their family or feed themselves or survive, especially with rent prices going crazy and food expenses going up and everything being so expensive. They made being expensive alive, which is partly how they're able to compel us all to work, because they gatekeep human needs behind their profit systems through the false scarcity that is imposed on us via the capitalist enclosure of human needs and supplying it. The mandate that we make sure that a hedge fund manager or an institutional investor can afford a Maserati in 20,000 years. So I'm not a fan of Scabs, but I can't not think about the fact that they are someone who's looking for work, who's out of work, who might be scared that they're going to be homeless soon. They're still part of the precariat class. They still need money to survive, just like you and just like everybody else, even if we can still resent them for going against a union. Like the scabs like Bill Maher, Drew Barrymore, who are trying to do their shows without writers, although they pulled back from it. They were offering, even if they weren't hiring the writers, and even if they themselves were at a state of a high status position of being a boss, but also serving the distribution companies, still serving their masters, they're still scabs, because that action diminishes the strength you get from withholding the product. You're still giving product to the people, to the consumers, and that's reducing the leverage that the union has. That's why the Bill Maher and the Drew Barrymore thing, they were still scabbing, because they were making it harder for the people standing out there in the picket line to have leverage. They're taking that away from them by subverting the leverage that they have, which is to withhold the product, withhold their labor. So scabs are being hired by these auto parts companies. And this is, September 25th, Luis Feliz, sorry, Jesus Christ, I sound so white. Luis Feliz Leon Auto workers at the Big Three expanded their strike last Friday to a key vulnerability. Parts distribution centers that supply dealerships with everything from water pumps to brake drums and spark plugs to replacement bumpers. On Tuesday morning, General Motors began bringing in temps hired for $14 an hour to attempt to keep some of the parts and accessories flowing. Man, the companies, they love the staffing agencies, the temp agencies. They love that because then Amazon does this all the time with their delivery drivers. They don't actually work for Amazon. They don't work for Amazon. They dress up in Amazon clothing. They drive Amazon cars. They have to follow Amazon company principles. They have to follow Amazon company, I'm going to say policies. They deliver Amazon products, but they don't work for Amazon. No, that's just that company over there. Oh, the guy who plays golf with Jeff Bezos, meaning like the profitable, there's still people benefiting. There's still owners benefiting from the labor. It's really gross. Like this should be something that we like, if at most staffing agencies like this should be about very, very like rigidly temporary so to get people into proper employment, proper benefits and stuff. Maybe just as a way to facilitate placement. They should be more like placement agencies. Whatever. I'm getting off track. Parts distribution centers ship after sales spare parts and accessories to car dealerships on a just-in-time basis. If there's anything that could possibly break down that you need to get replaced, it probably came from a customer care and after-sales CCA facility, said Strike Captain Devin McKenzie on the picket line outside a GM parts facility in Burton, Michigan. Yeah, I don't think I need to read too much more here. Here, we'll just jump way ahead. I got more like video stuff. 5,000 members of the auto workers UAW walked off the job last Friday at 38 parts distribution centers for Stellantis and GM across 20 states, joining 13,000 workers at assembly plants in Ohio, Michigan, and Missouri who had been out for a week. Part distribution centers generally are much smaller than assembly plants with workforces of 50 to 150 workers, but at the 1 million square foot CCA facility in Burton, the head count is more than 1,200. Workers there process 9.9 million parts per month, filling orders for domestic and international customers. GM has invested $168.5 million in the facility, which opened in 2019, replacing an older building. "We're the cash cow," said Local 651 member Roy Simmons, and we ain't getting milk. Where's the milk money? That's funny. Okay, talking about the show. Last Friday, the UAW announced that GM had agreed in bargaining to eliminate the lower wage tier that CCA workers and also GM Components Holdings workers were placed on in earlier rounds of concessions. They will be on the same wage scale as assembly workers going forward. Yeah, using the tiers is a way that they've been able to disrupt solidarity by new hires get a much lower wage and they don't get the same benefits. And so they still honor the union that they agreed to before, but now you've got two people standing next to each other doing they do in the same job, but one's getting far higher benefits and pay than the others. It's really, really a great way to infect the union with a socially corrosive thing, which is that now those lower tier workers are going to start resenting the higher ones. And it's so actually that's what unions are striking for in a lot of ways, in a lot of times, instances, is to end those. And you might have seen the phrase end tiers, is that it's every job should be in the union. And there's gradations based on experience within that. Here's a little explanation. We've got people there making $16 an hour in our plant, said Barney Hennessy, a strike captain at the Swartz Creek Parts Depot, who has worked there 38 years. You can go to Target or McDonald's and make more money than that. It's hard to get people to stay in our plants because they're not making a lot of money. All we're trying to do is bring everybody up to the same amount of wages so everybody can enjoy the kind of living that we used to enjoy before inflation. At Swartz Creek, workers say GM has brought in new non-union trucking company Universal to transfer trucks from inside the plant to outside the plant. After Teamster truck drivers refuse to cross the picket line, probably by tomorrow, we'll have non-union semi-drivers hauling the stuff away, said a Local 651 member. Yeah, management stockpiling. I'm just kind of scrubbing through this, honestly. I'm a little embarrassed I didn't do a better job preparing here. We'll just read the last few paragraphs. During the 3-hour podcast. During the 40-day strike in 2019, GM brought in salaried workers from other plants to keep operations going. The supervisors and management We're in there trying to do our job, which was unload the trucks, do the processing, and ship the parts out, said Simmons. After the strike, workers spent months fixing quality control issues because management had shipped parts to the wrong location or mislabeled parts with the wrong station code. We were fixing parts over 6 months because they fucked up everything they touched, Kim said. So they brought in like their office workers from like other areas to do the work that these guys had been doing. And they just kept screwing everything up. I do remember some other stories about that where they're like crashing things. Like, you know, once you take away the actual skilled labor that does it, it's really hard to replace it with people who don't know what they're doing. What will workers do when the salaried employees show up on Tuesday? Wish them luck, Kim said. They're going to be so goddamn lost. That's funny. So here's some scabs showing up. Same writer here, Louise Felix Leon. Says, just doing the reasonable thing. This is a tweet. Blocking scabs from entering the Burton, Michigan Parts Distribution Center. Fuck scabs. Play.
So, I'm from Labor Notes, brother. Labor Notes. Yeah. So these scabs are trying to enter.
All right, for people on the audio feed, there's a car without a driver that's blocking a vehicle that's really up close to it, and there's kind of a line behind it, and there's a dude in this like maroon car, which is the car that has the guy in it, and a bunch of strikers screaming and yelling. So I assume someone's asking who's filming, and he's saying he's from Labor Notes, which is a good. You should be up on Labor Notes. And then someone's flashing bright blinking lights into the cars. So you can see the drivers in these cars. And like I said, these are people that are being paid $14 or $15 an hour or whatever to show up and do this. And yes, it's totally wrong. You should morally question someone who's scabbing. But this is part of that surplus army of labor that the capitalists love having, is desperate people willing to do this. It can't feel good to show up and drive past these strikers unless you're some like ideological idiot who thinks you're making some sort of point. I have compassion for the scabs who are showing up to do this. I think it's the stress of this all, and it's kind of the whole deal of this whole society, is that the friction never reaches the bosses. The friction the bosses face is when the global warming induced hurricane messes up their travel plans, or when maybe the profits aren't as good as they were supposed to be, and they have to explain themselves to some hedge fund fucking Wall Street asshole. Those are the problems they face. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe they weren't on the waiting list to buy some rare watch that just got produced, because all these rich people do are just like gassing off their money into luxury products. The friction happens on the phone when you call customer service and it's someone that you can't understand, or the people who have to, like, every CEO should be required to do like 15 hours a week on the phone answering basic customer service, getting yelled at by pissed off customers from Verizon or whatever. And among the many examples where these bureaucratic these companies insulate themselves, the executive class, the decision makers, the parasites in the brainstem, never face the friction that the others face. The workers themselves have to be the ones out there at 4 a.m. picketing, taking risks. There's been some cases where there's been violence. I had a video, I didn't have it for this podcast, where some dude drove by and yelled at some union guys, and somehow then it turned into a fight, turned into a physical altercation. People getting hit by cars that happened with the Hollywood strikers. Some people coming up and running them, hitting them. So I'm on the side of people, which is why I have compassion for the scabs too that are here. And they should be met with this kind of thing. Anyway, because the only way that this gets better is if no product flows out of these fucking factories. Because the parasites in the brainstem aren't going to show up and do any of that work. They never have, they never will. They're dependent on the placenta pumping nutrients into them. And this is a way to prevent those nutrients from reaching them.
UAW, let's go! Come on, let's go, get to work!
Yeah, so there it is. That's crazy. Final video, then I'm going to end the show. Because I was going to do a thing about Bob Menendez, and I have a whole bunch of bookmarks, but... Okay. Chuck Schumer, speaking of scumbags, one of the world's most rotten people. Hold on a second. Let me see if I have this. That's Robert Menendez here. Here you go. I moved it to the wrong spot. Chuck Schumer, Senate Majority Leader, is corrupt. He's an old doddering piece of shit. He's weak. He's in the pocket of big finance. And he's another politician showing up to pretend that he gives a shit about the workers. Here he is. And this is, again, like kind of like with Trump and Biden, even Josh Hawley, like I said earlier, or like we showed earlier. Politicians are like, they're always chasing movements. And that's necessarily in a kind of an idealistic sense. That's actually a good thing. We want our representatives to be responsive to their communities. We want them to not source their impulses and beliefs necessarily just from themselves. That's not an ideal way to operate a representative democracy. And so they show up at unions and do stuff like this. And it's fair to say, based on Chuck Schumer's entire history as a corporate toady, his daughter is like a bigwig at Facebook. You know, they're all part of that Rat King solidarity I talked about last episode. Chuck Schumer is here at a facility, or at a picket. What does it say? It says Italian, something about Italian. Oh, Italian Fest. It says on a sign way in the back there. I want to go to Italian Fest. That sounds fun. I don't actually. It's not, no offense, Italians. It's more just I struggle with photons and sound waves. Anyway, UAW tweeted this. David Weigel reposted it. We are going to persist and we're going to succeed. It says Chuck Schumer. Now I read that with a lot more fervor. Ferv, is that a word? Verve. Then Chuck Schumer is capable of producing. We are going to persist and we are going to succeed. And that what he's doing there is he's taking his pants down. That's what he says before he takes a weird, gross old man poop. Here's Chuck Schumer talking to some union guy.
During the pandemic, COVID that everybody forgot about, we were in here. Temperature checks, masks, while the executives stayed home from their offices at home. We were here working. We came here every day during the pandemic. We were essential workers to get the parts out. Now they made record profits since the pandemic, and they don't want to give us any of it. So thank you, Mr. Schumer.
We're here with you,
Senator.
Look at that.
We're gonna fight until we win. My father, who was a union guy, taught me. He loved unions. He taught me. He died just a year and a half ago. But he said, when you're doing the right thing, when you're doing something important, look in your heart, make sure it's the right thing. And then if you persist and persist and persist, God will reward you and you'll succeed.
My father said that when you put a nickel on top of your head, your wife will show up in 14. I'm trying to do old man wisdoms. So he just spews up some bullshit about his dead dad saying something about persisting. It's just standard boilerplate politician pablum. Just bullshit nonsense. This fucking asshole. Let's just finish this up.
We're going to persist and we're going to succeed.
Amen.
Okay, that's good. That's great. Thanks for weighing in there, Chucky boy. Like this guy pointed out that we showed up and worked. We were essential while the executives were at home working from their mansions on their internet with their Nancy Pelosi refrigerators filled with ice cream. He didn't say that. That's my words. But Chuck Schumer gives him look at this big hand. Look how he raises his left hand here. This is such a politician hand. They don't do real fists. It's relatively regular fist. Yeah, I think it's a regular fist, but it's got this idiot politician thing. This guy is a conductor of a orchestra of corruption as the leader of the Senate Democrats.
Mr. Schumer.
We're here with you,
Senator.
We're gonna fight until we win.
We're gonna fight.
My father, who was a union guy, taught me. He loved unions.
My father loved unions. I don't. I'm paid not to love unions, but my father drove a broom to work. I'm not feeling the creativity there. So here's Chuck Schumer's donors. Who donates to Chucky Schumer? He's from New York. So you know that there's going to be a lot of money. This is 1989 to 2024. Oh, Charles E. Schumer. I wonder if he's related to Chuck E. Cheese. Coincidence? I think not. OpenSecrets.org. So long time, 1989 to 2024. $19 million from the securities and investment industry. Lawyers and law firms, 11 million, 11.2, almost 11.3 million. Real estate, 8.8 million. Retired, 4.3 million. TVs, music, and movies, 2.9 million. Insurance, 2.9 million. Lobbyists, oh, that's, of course, 2.4 million. All this money is coming from the pro-capitalist, anti-worker side of this stuff. Now, Democrats are tend to get more money from lawyers and law firms. It's kind of a thing, although there's certainly lots of law and lawyering going on in the right wing. It's because it's part of the duopoly. So I just clicked on securities and investments here, but I don't know if this is just for Chuck. I think this is for all. Yeah. So they donate to Democrats $690 million and Republicans $668 million in the all cycles, it says. So $1 billion, 1.37 billion total to that. So but Chuck Schumer is just raking in corruption money. All this money gets spent on his campaigns and to the consultants he hires, and all just to sustain the grift of being someone like Chuck Schumer, who has joined Nancy Pelosi in being part of this capitalist ruling class whose primary job is to slow progress down as much as possible. The only pace at which anything is allowed to improve is if the profit takers can continue to take in profit. That's what Obamacare was. Obamacare was this, it did help some people by banning pre-existing conditions and not, you know what I mean, by not allowing insurance companies to not insure you. But it was a gigantic giveaway, legally mandated purchases from for-profit health insurance companies. It was Mitt Romney basically I mean, I don't know if he originated it himself, but via the Heritage Foundation, a think tank, right-wing think tank, Obamacare was modeled off of Romney Care. So anyway, point being though, that's an example of, okay, we'll let things get slightly better, but only under the condition that the vampires get to keep drinking. And that sentence I just said summarizes Chuck Schumer's entire life. Yet this fucking asshole has the temerity to show up at a union and act like he gives a shit about these people. So that's rotten. But all right, well, listen, then, if you made it to the 3 hours and 10-minute mark where I'm at here, thank you for watching. I hope this is interesting. I don't really know what I'm doing with a lot of this. Sometimes I feel like I'm spiraling off into madness with what I'm saying, meaning I often worry I'm not making any sense, and that's actually probably true some of the time. But working on everything, gonna get a bunch of videos produced out of this one. Check the description for ways to support. Very much in need of some help. Trying to get better about asking for money, and I have a lot of project ideas, but I just have still working on some of my foundational things in life to be able to reach those. And you can be part of helping me with that if you're enjoying some of this. And yeah, I do need to. Now that editing gig is not there anymore, which is fine. I'm actually like all jobs. I'm so grateful for the work because I need money, but I'm also just like, oh god damn it, I fucking hate this shit. I have other stuff I'd rather do. I want to work on this stuff. If I can reach a point of independent financial support, and that would really change the feelings that I like, the energy. And I'm so grateful for those who are actually helping on Patreon already. But I just know that I really can tell that I'm not producing the kind of the kind of hole that I find myself in requires my very, very best. And that's like far from what I'm able to do at all in so many ways, but that's all right. Whatever. That's okay. It's a slow process, and it just takes steps. And it also takes not letting my catastrophizing get the best better of me. I fell off the yoga train a little bit and wasn't really doing great, but now I'm sort of back on. I mean, back to just sort of being a little bit better about that. And every single day I just have to, it's a lesson I'll always be struggling with. I hope not. I want to eventually get better about the habit of paying the brain price in the morning, meaning like just like do some self-care, do some healthy stuff, some little exercise, a little work. I did actually lift weights the other day, by the way, which felt good. I haven't done that in a while. I have some dumbbells and stuff. So that's going to be good. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for more muscles. Keep supporting the union. Keep supporting your own life. Take care of yourself. Forgive yourself. Don't beat up what happened wasn't your fault. You're allowed to, your feelings are valid. You deserve better. You're allowed to care and stay hopeful, I guess. Me of all people. And I'm going to do a Robert Menendez bit here. We got
tonight, New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez is
that one. We're going to do a bit about that in the next episode. So since I already have it all loaded up, we'll jump into it and we'll take him down. So keep an eye out for that. Meanwhile, I got to go. Going to go pet the cat. That's not a euphemism. I'm literally going to do that to a cat. And that's all I got. I'm going to say goodbye now. Goodbye now. Bye. See you later.